looking for the microphone. It's unmuted. So it's live now? Yep. Hello, hello, hello. May I have everyone's attention, please? We would like to request that everybody grab your seats so we can get started. If you haven't gotten your coffee or breakfast yet, please do so now and head back to your chair at the table. And we will get started in just 2 minutes. Thank you.
One, two, checking the mic for the stream for Zoom session. One, two.
Hello, everyone. Um, can everybody hear me okay? Thumbs up, hand wave. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, can I get everyone's attention? I'm calling everybody back to their seats. Thank you. Oh, it feels nice to have this sort of command. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second annual AGAZ Summit. I can't believe a year has gone by since the last one, and it's nice to see a packed crowd again. Seeing so many people here is a testament to the need for support for startup businesses, resources, networking, connections, and so much more. So before we begin, I'd like to start with the land acknowledgement, since we are especially here in Mississauga this morning. I'd like to acknowledge the lands which constitute the present-day city of Mississauga as being part of the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat and Wyandot nations. We recognize these peoples and their ancestors as peoples who inhabited these lands since time immemorial, and we honor their enduring presence, wisdom, and contributions. Thank you for your attention to that. I'm extremely excited to welcome all our participants today, and I hope your day is filled with learning, amazing networking, and resources to help you on your journey. Today is a chance for you to meet fellow change makers, investors, ecosystem builders, and immigrant founders. My name is Doreen Fernandez, and I am really thrilled to be your MC today at this conference. I'd like to start by sharing a quote with you, and this quote is from Steve Jobs. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation. That quote really stood out to me because being a startup founder is really about telling your story so that you can attract people to help support you and grow your businesses. Today's conference is about vision and value you all bring. So let's listen to the stories being told today and learn how to tell your own story for impact. We have an action-packed day today with notable guests sharing their stories and insights. So let's get started. I'd like to first call up Temina Chowdhury, who's the founder of the Canada Startup Association. She's going to do the welcome address and share with us a few of her words. Come on up, Temina.
I'm just taking a pause, seeing the room. Thank you, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Standing here today, the second edition of AGAZ Summit feels almost unreal. Last year, we came together here to make a new beginning. That means AGAZ, a new beginning. To prove that immigrant and underrepresented founders deserve not just seat at a table, but they need the confidence and the support to bring and make their own tables. Back then, we celebrated 1 year of the Canada Startup Association, a dream I started with nothing. Thanks to Hamad to supporting me in the start and still now. No funding, no resources, just grit and an unwavering belief that immigrant talent is Canada's untapped advantage. And here we are, stronger than ever. Today I stand here not just to celebrate beginnings, but to show you what happens when dreams are matched with community and with determination that refuse to give up. When I come to Canada in 2020, less than 5 years ago, I brought with me an established business and 20 plus years of entrepreneurial experience. And still I failed. I was not able to pursue my business because I didn't have the right network or any social capital. I don't know what the system is. I learned the hard way that talent alone isn't enough without the right support and network. That failure was painful. And also, I have to bear a lot of loss. But it gave me clarity. Instead of asking why me, I asked what now? And the answer was very clear to me. Build what I never had. And what a year it has been. That vision has grown into something bigger than I have ever imagined. Together, we took Canadian founders across the world to Singapore, Berlin, and Dubai, where they stood on global stages, representing not just their companies, but the very best of Canadian innovation. We have mentored hundreds of startups, built new partnerships, and today, for the first time, we are proud to welcome sponsors like Export Development Canada, Deloitte, Foresight Canada, and many amazing partners like BMG, Scale Without Borders, Startup Science, who see the value in what we are building. But what makes me the proudest in this, we did it all without a single dollar of government funding. We are not funding yet. And this is a proof that what passion, community, and vision can achieve. What we see here in Canada, that there is one part of government funding, either it's a startup, ecosystem enablers, or anyone. They just try to take it out from us. And we wanted to change that. And here we are proving that you can do it without any government funding or any support. And numbers only tell a part of the story. The real impact lies in the founders, the newcomers who pitch at our road shows and walk away with a fully funded trip to Dubai and Berlin. The Canadian startup that stood on the stage in Singapore among the thousands of startups, we had just one from Canada, and they won 30,000 USD in non-dilutive funding. These are the stories that remind me why we started CSA in the first place. And let's not forget, this isn't just about a few founders or few immigrants. Immigrants make up over 1/4 of Canadian population, and yet they are behind more than 30% of all new businesses created in this country. That's the untapped advantage that we talk about. Imagine what happens when we give them the right platforms, right network, the right support, and the right opportunities. We don't just strengthen our startup ecosystem, we strengthen Canada's innovation economy and its place in the world. And I have not walked this road alone. Every step of the way, I have been surrounded by allies, people who trusted me when we had nothing to show, who stood by unconditionally, who shared our vision even before it was real. To them, I owe everything. That includes my incredible team, and I would like them to join me on a stage. Hamas Siddiqui, Naz, Aisha, Sirat. And we have one on Zoom, Amna. I don't know if she's able to open the camera and show her face to us. So this is all behind what we have been doing so far. We are a very small team, but a mighty one. And today, we are taking another bold step. I'm proud to announce the launch of CSA membership. Till now, we have been doing bootstrapping without any funding, without any paid memberships. But again, this is not just about joining an association. Now we want startups and other partners to give back. And it's a small way of supporting each other locally while building together globally. It's about choosing community over competition. This is another thing that we have seen in the ecosystem working in the silos. We don't need to compete with each other. We need to come together and build something bigger than ourselves. Supporting local founders, women, and immigrant entrepreneurs here at the home is just the first step. The next step is taking Canadian innovation out into the world, because Canada's story cannot be confined in one market or just one, someone there. We all look to, I don't want to name, but we cannot be confined to one market. So as we spend today listening, sharing, and connecting, I want you all to leave with this. I come here with nothing, but with a dream. And I think all the immigrants come here with a dream in their eyes. Honestly, when I'm saying nothing, with this nothing, we bring a lot of things. We spend a lot of money here. Today I stand here not alone, but with all of you, a room full of people with, strength, community, and a lot of experience behind them. This is our time to support local, to go global, and to leave behind a legacy that others will rise from, because together we all are unstoppable. Thank you for being here, for believing in this journey, and for choosing this walk, this path together. This is just the beginning. We keep saying it. This is just the beginning, and together we will take Canada further than we have ever imagined. Thank you so much.
Whenever I hear Tamina, the little flame inside of me just grows into a full-blown fire. To think that she came here just a couple of years ago, had a vision, and I love what she says when she says, instead of saying, why me, say, what's next? And I think we can all take that advice as we leave here today, and hopefully it stays with us to keep going. Excuse me. About a week and a half ago, I was very lucky to contract some sort of virus. I was coughing like a dog, I had a cold, and just on time for me to be the MC today, so bear with me, folks. So again, I'd just like to extend a heartfelt thanks to the sponsors of this wonderful AGAZ Summit today, and that is a special thank you to Export Development Canada, Deloitte Canada, Foresight Canada, Colab, and Blackstone Steakhouse. Thank you again. Could we just have a round of applause for them? Thank you. So our very first event is going to be a fireside chat with Gregory Shepard, and it's going to be moderated by our own Naz Noorani, and the topic is Lessons from the Journey. Gregory, who joined us today all the way from California, United States, is the founder and CEO of StartupScience.io. With over 35 years leading the way in this area, his expertise nurtures technology startups from seed to Series A all over the globe. And Naz is the Director of Community and Partnerships at the Canada Startup Association. She is a brand strategist and helps builders and ecosystems to grow. So let's welcome up on stage Naz and Gregory Shepard.
Okay, I guess I'm going to do a keynote first and then the fireside chat. While that's getting ready, I want to let you guys know something. So I spent 5 years studying founder success and founder failure. And during that time frame, some of the research I did was on what I consider people that are stepped on, stepped over, or passed up. And this is formally about immigrants. And I want to let you guys know that part of my research was 37% of the unicorns, these are billion-dollar companies in North America, were started by immigrants. Like, think about that per capita, right? Think about the number of people in all of North America, 37% immigrants. That is something really, really special. And I'm honored to be here with you guys, honestly. And I'm honored to be able to present to you because I think most of the countries in the world should be thanking immigrants for coming in and bringing their motivation and their grit and their power to start something amazing. And in addition to that, I think that it's the people that experience the problems are the only people that can fix the problems. So you have to really invest in those people. So I want to thank you. Thank you so much. Now let's move on to the presentation. I don't have a clicker, so I have to say next. So just forgive me. So I always think about what's impossible. And my life has been an impossible journey. So we're going to go through a little bit of that to give you some credibility on who I am and where I come from. And then I'm going to go into some of the details that might be useful to you. Okay, so you get a little bit of mix, a little bit of entertainment and a little bit of knowledge. Next. So the first thing is that being a founder is all about failure. I've done 12 startups and 12 exits, 4 private equity awards. I wrote a book on it. I've written like 100 articles. I've met presidents. I've done the whole deal. Starting a company is about stumbling from failure to failure without losing your motivation. It is about failure. Failure is evolution. Failure is how evolution actually happens. Those things that survive is sometimes if you watch, you'll see a little plant growing out of like a crack. You know, sometimes in the sidewalk or sometimes on the freeway, and you'll see this plant surviving in the most unbelievable conditions. That is foundership. Every time I see a plant like that growing, I think to myself, this is a founder. This is somebody who's doing the impossible and getting stronger by doing it. Plants grow cell by cell, which means that they're able to split rock and concrete because they grow one cell at a time, a little bit at a time. And those cells become so powerful that they can split rock. That's what starting a company is about. So go ahead and move next. So I went from being a poor kid, we were in a poor family. We didn't even have running water, a toilet, or electricity. My family's all foster and adopted. I have 10 different siblings, different ethnicities. I went from this situation to this situation. And what happened was I built and sold these 12 companies. My 12th company, I sold to eBay Enterprise Marketing Solutions as part of a $925 million deal that won 4 private equity awards for transactions between $250 million and $1 billion. And then 6 months later, they bought another one of my startups. And then I became the chief technology officer and the chief strategy officer for eBay Enterprise. And to tell you guys a little bit about myself, which makes this pretty crazy, is that I also, go ahead and go to the next slide. This is some stuff on me. Go to the next slide. It's a terrible picture. I'm also autistic and dyslexic. So I have not only grew up in a poor family, but I grew up with these, what they call disabilities, which I call abilities. It's a way to see the world from a different lens. It's the same thing that I think immigrants have when they come into a new country. You see things fresh. You see things from a different lens, as if you're looking through different glasses. You see the world differently. When you see the world differently, you see opportunities. You see problems that can be opportunities. And it changes your perspective. So you have an organic, natural advantage when you have a disadvantage. Does that make sense? It changes things, right? And it means things can be pretty magical. So I tell people, don't feel sorry for me. You know, it's just a different operating system. This is a picture of my brain. So on the right side, you can see that's my brain, the autistic brain. On the other side is a neurotypical brain. So an average person, we call them, if you're somebody with autism, you call them normies. It's our name for regular people. But you can see that we're just using a different part of our brain. The fascinating thing about this is that immigrants that come into new countries, they also use different parts of their brain because they have to adapt not only to a different language, but to a different culture, different currency, different ways of driving, signs, everything changes. It requires you to access a different part of your brain, which is, again, another advantage. Next. This is another picture of my brain. When they did this research, they basically show you different pictures and different movies and different things. And during that time frame, they take shots of your brain and they sort of evaluate what your brain is doing. And it's just looking in different places for information. So it's just a different operating system. Go ahead. Go ahead and load up all these. So this is my track record. So I do a lot of keynote speeches at places. I'm pretty well known in the neurodivergent community for speaking up for people that are marginalized. I speak at a lot of immigrant conferences. Some of my siblings came into the country. They were adopted from different countries. So I'm trying to be really vocal on that. 12 startups and 12 exits, so I have a 100% track record. I've done 27 total transactions, including those that I invested in, started a fund. You know, really, really work hard. I'm on my second book. The first book is called The Startup Life Cycle, which walks through the different stages of a startup as you go through it. It took me 4 years to write that book. I'll give you a little bit of the story right here. Go ahead and go to the next slides. Those are some of the companies that I built and some of the places that I've been in. And this is me and my friend Barack Obama. What I did is I wanted to move more money down to startups. I wanted to get women and people of color into Congress. So I became a chairman for congressional candidates after I left eBay, trying to give back. And I was able to get a guy named Omar Campanajjar. And so they invited me to meet Barack Obama. And it was an enlightening experience. The guy is amazing, a beautiful person, kind. I mean, I was so nervous I thought I was going to lose my mind. I was just standing there frozen for the longest time. And then the Secret Service came over and walked me over to him. And he was so gracious and kind. I'd just like to throw a little out for Barack Obama, because we're in this situation now where we have this. Anyway. So I thought it could change from the top down. I thought it could change by addressing politics and move money down to startups that way. But that didn't work. So what I did instead is I went the route of taking all the research I did and building up a platform and then using that to write the book, and then using the book to write it to create a big piece of software. I think that entrepreneurship, to your beautiful speech, is innovation. If you look at corporations, large corporations, you don't see very much innovation. You see them acquiring innovation, but you don't see them doing innovation. That's because they're not down there in the roots. They're not in the trenches. So they can't see those big things happening. These really fast, especially in the market right now with changes. If you look at AI and things that are happening so fast. So most of the big companies have to buy innovation. It used to be that most companies, the Fortune 1500, had their own innovation offices. They don't anymore. They actually sponsor things like this to get in front of the startups, because that's where the innovation actually happens. So if you're an entrepreneur, you have to realize that you are innovation. You are the special forces of business. There's not a lot of people that can survive building a company. It's a really, really tough route. But when you do survive and you are successful, you have the ability to actually change the future. Everything from the phone you have on your desk right now to the car you drove and everything in between came from entrepreneurship. You can go all the way back to the Industrial Revolution to people like Henry Ford, entrepreneurs. You can go all the way to Steve Jobs, entrepreneurs, and even ChatGPT, entrepreneurs. Everything comes from entrepreneurs. You are in a league of the specialists. And as an immigrant, you're in a league of the specialists that are really successful at a much higher rate than people that are non-immigrants. So you have a tailwind that you may not be aware of. Remember that. You have an advantage that's invisible. Shadow capital is what we call it. capital that you can't see but is behind you and following you everywhere you go, like a tailwind. So 90% of entrepreneurs fail. This was the problem that I was trying to deal with when I went to Congress. So what I did is I did a 5-year research project on why, when, and how founders fail to understand the struggle that they were going through. And I realized that struggle is progress. Like, the ability to struggle is actually the progress itself. And so I did this process to try to understand what was going on. Like, why were they failing? What was actually happening? The initial research I did had sort of like these slices of failure, right? Things like running out of money. Sometimes they would say, you know, things about the founders didn't get along, or somebody gave up, or the idea wasn't good, or competition isn't there. But the fact of the matter is that those things that are common knowledge, they're all things that are more questions than they are answers. Like, somebody ran out of money. You know, so when I did the research, I interviewed thousands and thousands and did transcriptions to learn about founder success and failure. And more often, these same things kept coming up. But they were more questions than they were. Why did you run out of money? What happened? Why were you able to raise money? Did you not understand the financials? Another thing would come up, like, well, the founders burned out. Well, why did they burn out? If you have a passion for something, you shouldn't have burned out. So what happened? Like, what happened that led up to that burnout? Things like the original team didn't get along. Well, what happened there? Why didn't they get along? Were they not clear up front with what their initiative was, with what their vision was, with where they were going? These things were ongoing considerations that create this massive amount of failure and a huge amount of economic damage, not to mention the people themselves that are out there. You guys, right? I know what it's like. You're out there. I used to eat dinner at hotel lobbies. I would sneak in through the lobby and act like I was staying at the hotel because I didn't have enough money to eat. I would go to buffets. I would do anything I could just to eat so that I could survive. And I ended up doing all this. If I can do it, then I promise you, you can do it too. But you have to understand the real reasons why founders fail. So let's go through some of these things. You have burnout, lack of passion, lack of focus. You have ignoring users, poor marketing, and pricing versus cost, no business model, and the wrong team. So when you look at this stuff, what do you see? Do you see anything here that's actually going to help you as a founder not have the problems that are associated normally with starting a business, right? They just leave you with questions, right? So what I tell people is I say, this is actually all wrong. I love to do this because people take all the pictures. And I watch them take all the pictures, and then I put this thing up, and I'm like, ah! Inside, I'm like totally laughing. But so these are all what I consider lagging indicators. Now, who knows the difference between a lagging and a leading indicator? All right, so we got one cat in here that knows. Let me explain this to you guys. A lagging indicator is ultimately something that is latent, meaning it's late, and a leading indicator causes a lagging indicator. A financial number is a lagging indicator because there's nothing you can do about it by the time it happens. Does that make sense? So most of the time, entrepreneurs that fail are paying attention to lagging indicators, and most of the time, investors that fail are paying attention to lagging indicators. The problem with that is there's nothing you can do about it. So what you have to do is you have to focus on the things that created the financial numbers, not the financial numbers themselves. Does that make sense to you? Otherwise, it's literally like driving like this, looking behind you, right? You're looking at what already happened, and those financial numbers may have happened 6 months ago. So you could have 6 months numbers happening and the next 6 months numbers coming, and there's nothing you can do about it because you're not paying attention to that. So what's creating the outcome is more important than the outcome itself. Because if you pay attention to what's creating the outcome, then what you can do is change the future. It's like having a time machine. And people ask me, they're like, how is it possible? How do you do, in 35 years, 12 startups and 12 exits? Like, that's pretty astounding considering 90% fail. It's against the numbers, right? This is one of the ways I do that. I pay attention to what is creating the outcome, not the outcome itself. That changes things drastically. So I'm going to dig into this a little bit for you guys. So there are layers of founder failure. The first thing that I found is that the entrepreneur ecosystem around the world is just fragmented and broken. The beautiful thing about it is true globalization, meaning it doesn't matter what country you're in, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're an entrepreneur, you're a part of a family. You're a part of other people that understand the suffering that you're going through, the struggle that you're going through, and the compromise that you have in order to make your business work. So when I looked at the fragmentation of the ecosystem, what I saw was like little broken pieces, right? You have this little piece over here, these little spot solutions, little companies offering little things, and it's all spread out, and there is no central place. If you think about 90% of entrepreneurs failing over the last 35 years, I want you to think of another industry that would accept that. Would any other industry on the earth say, yeah, 90% of what we do fails, let's just keep things going as it is? Like, that's insanity by definition. By Einstein's definition, that's insanity, right? And nobody did anything, and so I decided I was going to do something. I was like, this is insane. All these people are trying to build these businesses, and a lot of these businesses should exist. They are things that change things, and they should exist, but they just don't exist. What do we do? How do we fix this problem? The first thing, as Steve Jobs said, is, 90% of the solution is understanding the problem. So that's why I spent so much time trying to really understand what the problem was that was causing these things in the first place. And the fragmentation, the non-standardization of the ecosystem was the #1 issue. Meaning, if you go to university, how many of you guys went to any university? And there's a curriculum, right? Like you go through and you take this class, and then you take a test, and you move on, and there's a system. Do you guys know about a system in startups? Do you see the problem? There is no structure to help people through the process. So when I wrote the startup lifecycle, the first thing I did is I said, let's explain what the process is. What is the lifecycle? What can you expect as you go forward? Does that make sense? Understanding where you're going is really, really important to being successful overall. Like, what's your destination? If you're going on vacation and you're going from here to there, imagine if you didn't have a GPS. Like, you're never getting there. Now, do you think it's harder to build a business? I mean, yeah, right? So understanding where you are and where you're going is critical. So building a startup is sort of like a GPS, having your instructions. Yeah, there's going to be pivots and there's going to be iterations, and those are just detours on your GPS. But you have to understand your destination. So let's dive into these things. So understanding where you are and where you're going is critical. So the first thing we have to do is we have to understand the stages of innovation and the stages of a startup. So I'm going to give you guys this information right now. These you should take pictures of. I'm not going to trick you on this one, all right? So innovation has 2 major steps to it. You have value creation. And value creation, think of value as money, right? So value creation is where you're building the value of the business, but you're not extracting value yet. Does that make sense? You're building the value. This is your early stage of your startup where you're building the value. And then after that, you have the extraction of the value, right? This is where you actually start deriving revenue from it. There's always that front end. You have to create something before you can sell something, right? So that's the innovation life cycle. Now, the startup life cycle has 7 stages. And when I started researching this, what I learned is that a big problem was that people that were doing startups, they didn't understand there were stages. They thought that the rounds of funding were the stages. So a lot of times when you're in conversations, you hear somebody say, oh yeah, I'm a pre-seed company, or I'm a seed company, or I'm a series seed company. Those words mean different things to different people. Who's an investor? Raise your hand if you're an investor. All right, founders, pay attention. That's who you want to talk to. If you're an investor and you're out there, you can hear one investor say, oh, it's a pre-seed or it's a seed, or they don't even use that terminology. I mean, it's all over the place. This is a fundamental problem. Think about that. We're not even speaking the same language. So you have to understand that a round of funding is something that happens during the stage. It is not the stage. It is the outcome of a stage. So the first stage is vision. And vision is where you start ideating what it is that you're going to build, right? So what is it? Description, feature, benefit, problem, solution, impact on the product side, who your audience is, who's going to buy your company. I'm going to address that in a minute. Very, very, very important thing. And understanding who you're addressing, who are the customers. Everything that has to do with market. All of that is part of the vision stage. And then you go into the product stage. And the product stage is where you build your first product that you're going to go to market with, right? After your product stage, you go into your go-to-market. And your go-to-market and your product stage is kind of, you're going back and forth, right? You're kind of spinning back and forth. You launch into your go-to-market, you curl back, you launch in until you get your numbers right. After that, you go into standardization. So what is standardization? What I noticed in the failure numbers is that 47.1% of founders fail in the first 18 months. Over the following years, those founders fail for things they did in the first 18 months. So the first 18 months is critical for success. Every decision you make, everything you do is hypersensitive in that first 18 months. Understanding who is going to buy your company is one of those things. Companies buy other companies for one of two reasons, either to make or save money. It's called a synergy, right? It's one of those two things. The majority of the time, a company buys another company to make more money. And they do that because they have a LTV, a lifetime value for their customers, and they have a customer acquisition cost. And there's a ratio, right? A CAC to LTV ratio. So you want between 3 and 5 times. So you put in $1, you make $3 to $5, right? 3 is on the low acceptable side, but not healthy. You really want to be in the $5 range. So if you're a company, a big corporation, and you're looking out there at acquisitions, what are you trying to buy? You're trying to grow the lifetime value because you've already paid for the customers you have, right? So you want to sell them other things. So if you've already paid the $100 to acquire a customer, and now you have your lifetime value, let's say it's 1,000, and you have a 9 on that, then immediately the first thing you're doing is, how do I grow my lifetime value? Because I already have a sunk cost on my customers. So if you're thinking about building a company and selling a company, that's not something you can do at the last minute. You can't spend 5 years building a company, get all the way out to the very end and go, all right, who wants to buy it? Your buyers are going to say, do we have the same customer? Can you prove it? Number one. If you didn't do that from the very beginning, you can't make up for it at the end. Does that make sense? You have to find out who your acquirer is and who their customers are and make sure that you have the same customers you acquire at the beginning. That's how I do the 12 exits. Because I know and I'm grooming for that customer to buy the product just as much as I'm grooming for the acquirer to buy the company from the very beginning. I want to make sure that my customer and their customer is the same. And if you think about it this way, really, are they buying your company or are they buying your product? Do you have to hold on to this company that long? I sell companies typically in 5 years. That's because I know that I can get the upside on their LTV by giving them a new product to sell to their customers. And I know that going into the transaction so I can get higher valuations. The last one had $2.2 million in revenue. This company I invested in sold for $58 million. That's a huge multiple. And the company had existed for 5 years from startup. And all I did is tell them to align the customers with the acquirer's customers. And the acquirer had thousands of customers and they had hundreds. The acquirer didn't care if they got more customers because they were going to get them anyway, just by selling the product to their existing customers. Did you guys get this? Does this make sense? This is the biggest thing I can tell you today. The most important thing I can tell you is make sure that they're aligned. Your whole company is just a product to your acquirer. So treat it that way. Would you ever build a product without having a customer? Why would you ever build a company without having an acquirer? In mind at the start. Does that make sense? That all happens here. When you get to standardization, your problems that you have when you're a young company, they grow with your company. Some of the problems you see, and some of the problems you don't see at all, right? They're problems that only show up when your company gets bigger. What standardization does, it allows you to document the way your company works so that you can find the things that are flawed. It's all about margin. When we talk about scaling up, we don't mean like if this is your income line and this is your expense line that they both go. We're talking about economies of scale. Your expenses should actually drop. Your margin should increase as you get bigger. The only way that you can do that is by understanding how your business functions, and that's standardization. It's in the book, and there's a lot. I've written like 100 articles on this, so you can find more about it on your own. In another piece on that, you have what's called optimization. What optimization is making sure that you can scale up. That's what creates the economies of scale. But you can't optimize something you can't see in the first place, so you have to do standardization first. You have to document the way your business runs, and I'm not talking about a bunch of writing. I'm literally talking about bullet points and little paragraphs as if you're talking to somebody. So let's say that you hire somebody new and they're like, how do I do X, Y, Z? Well, it's right here, and somebody wrote, you start here, you click here, you read this, you do that. That's a best practice. That's as simple as it is. When you go into optimization, you're looking at those notes to try to find efficiencies, try to find problems, and then you go into growth. When I did the research, most of the companies that failed, they actually failed. They put themselves out of business. They went from go-to-market directly into growth. They missed the whole middle of it, and then all of their little demons came up and haunted them later on when their company got bigger. So it's really important to make sure that you put that in between, that you document the way your business runs. You know what the biggest cost of growth is for a company when you go into growth? It's headcount. Do you know what the biggest cost of headcount is? New hires. Do you know what that adds up to be? It's 30% of the first year's wages of somebody to get to 75% of productivity. So if you're hiring 5 people at $100,000 a piece, do you see the cost of growth? Do you know what that 30% is? It's the lack of optimization and lack of best practice standardization, because they can't ramp up. It takes them 6 months to ramp up, and they have to bug everybody to figure out how your company works. You see what I mean? So you can see the power of making sure that you have that documented. And then you can go into exit, which you've planned for the entire time. And the rounds are just something that happens during that time frame. So when you think about your valuation drivers, we're coming to an end here, so don't worry. You think about are you guys enjoying, are you getting something out of this? Okay, all right, good. When you think about valuation drivers, there's 3 valuation drivers. There's growth, margin, and retention. This is how companies buy you. So when you think about structuring your company, you structure your company according to the financial valuation drivers themselves, right? So if you think about that now, where would you put growth? Sales and marketing. Where would you put retention? Service and support. And margin would be shared services. Right? Shared services is like accounting, legal, finance, HR, that group, right? Now your valuation drivers are aligned with the people that work inside of your company, the things that drive value. Now let's talk about what actually drives value. Oh, product and engineering goes through them all. So these are some things. I'm running low on time because I'm taking too much time because I really want to try to help you guys. So these, just take a picture of this. This will help you. You can do it later. Everybody get a picture? Okay, this will help you later on. Okay, it's lame. Okay, these are the 4 functional areas that align with the actual valuation drivers. But now you also have to have KPIs, and I have a special treat for you guys here. So when you structure your business, you structure your business so that the KPIs, which are the leading indicators, and the financial drivers that drive your valuation. The valuation drivers are lagging indicators, the financials are lagging indicators, and the KPIs are leading indicators. So you structure your organization so that the numbers that people are accountable for line up with those organizations. Anything they do should be creating something that creates the next thing that ultimately creates value for the business, shareholder value. Does that make sense? So this is an idea of lagging and leading indicators. So you start out, you have marketing content creates leads, leads create growth. That's a simple Simple explanation, right? So you have marketing content creates sales, sales creates pipeline, pipeline creates growth. Satisfied customers come out of net promoter scores, right? Understand that's retention. These are things that lead to the answer, right? So if your customers aren't happy, you're gonna have bad retention. You know ahead of time if you send them a net promoter score. You can do an ENPS too, an employee net promoter score, to make sure that your people are happy. This is the last slide. I would highly recommend you to grab that QR code. These are KPIs. This is about 20 years of experience. What you see here is just one snapshot. When you get the spreadsheet, it's gonna go to a Google Doc. Just make a copy of it and you can use it yourself. It's got KPIs for every functional area, every KPI for everything. And I just want to explain how it works. So your performance over here, that's your KPI. Then you have your valuation driver, whether it's growth, margin, or retention. You want to make sure your KPIs line up to your valuation drivers. And then what type is it? Is it an expense or an income? So it lines up with your financials. Do you see how everything ties together? So your financials align, your KPIs align with your financials align with your valuation drivers, and all of your financial numbers line up with the people that are working in your organization, which is how you've structured your whole organization. Does that make sense to everybody? You always want to have planned what you plan to do. You want to have actual, what actual happened, and the difference every month. If you run your business this way and you keep track of the numbers, I guarantee you, you're going to have a way, way better chance of being successful. You're automatically going to avoid a lot of pitfalls that everybody has. I want to thank you so much for your time and energy. I appreciate your listening to me. Thank you.
Woo. Wow. That was a lot to soak in. Please have a seat. And so inspiring. What shall we do? Shall we call it a day? I think I just have one or two questions for you, Greg. And
Sorry.
a little bit of a plug to everyone here in the room today, especially founders, investors. We've all been in for a treat here. Greg has a live book signing at 3 p.m. today. There are limited copies of the Startup Lifecycle, so if I were you, I'd run, not walk. Coming back to my question, Greg, I'm curious. So what inspired you to write the Startup Lifecycle? And what's one thing that you hope all founders today, one lesson that we carry into our minds from AGAZ today?
I did it because I wanted to help evolve our world. I wanted to do that through the people that live in the world. I don't think it's the responsibility, or it is proven over history to me that government and corporates are just not doing it, and that it's up to us to do it. And so I need to empower all of you to change the world with me. We're all doing it together. You know, there is a way to change the way things work, and it's through entrepreneurship. You know, there's two routes: voting and entrepreneurship. You know.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing, Greg. I think this one question, because it's really relevant to our theme here today. Many of our founders here don't come with privilege. So no big family network, no exclusive club connections, and many a times it does feel that the odds are stacked against you. Mm-hmm. So what advice would you have for founders?
Well, let's be honest, the odds are stacked against you, right? There are a lot of things that limit entrepreneurship. A lot of them are forms of discrimination, either based on wealth, gender, religion, you know, race. There's a lot of that, right? And there are, but this is the thing about entrepreneurship that I've noticed, is that if you have a good idea and you can build a business, most people see right past that. Because what they care about is usually making money, which to me shouldn't be the prime motivation, but that's really what they care about. So if you are building a business, they don't care. You're gonna run into some issues early on, you know, when they judge whether or not you're the person that can make it happen. But if you overcome those obstacles and you're able to move forward, then you will do it. There is a headwind. I mean, when I started, you know, I didn't talk until I was 8 years old. I'm neurodivergent. I read at like a 4th grade level. So I've had my own challenges with trying to convince people that I can make something happen. And I did it. You know, I'm telling you, if I can do it, you guys can do it, because probably everybody in here is smarter than me. So believe me, you guys can do it. Please try and you will see you can make it happen.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Greg. This has been a delight and a real treat for all of us today.
Thank you.
Gregory Shepard, where do you hang your cape? That was amazing. Two things that stood out to me that Gregory mentioned in his speech. The first thing is that he mentioned a statistic of 37% of businesses was started by immigrants. And I got to thinking, can you imagine, that's just 37% of people who decided to jump into the pool. You know, what about everybody else, people in here who had a thought or an idea? So in order for it to happen, you just have to do it. And the second thing is, he made me really nervous to take a photo of an overhead projection again. Okay, so let's move on. The next event is going to be a fireside chat with Dr. Mudassar Ahmed, and that is going to be led by Anuj Rastogi. They're going to be talking about opening doors to uncharted opportunities. So who is Dr. Mudassar? He is a supply chain management and digitalization expert and is listed as a top supply chain influencer by All Things Supply Chain. He has come here today all the way from the UK, and we are thrilled to have him with us today. Leading the discussion is Anuj Rastogi. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. And he helps CEOs and HR leaders scale and transform teams. He's also an accomplished sales and revenue leader, talent transformation, digital strategist, podcast host, entrepreneur, music producer, and spoken word poet. Wow. So let's listen. Where are they? You have a microphone? Dr. Melissa, it's so nice to see you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you so much. Hello. All right, so here we are.
Yes. I have a question. What is spoken word poetry?
Spoken word poetry is poetry that is set to rhythm. It's not necessarily rap. It's a little bit more free form, but it's intended to be performed. It's not just intended to be read.
So we're going to finish this one of his poetries at the end. So here's a test for him. Here you go.
First of all, that was a very tough act to follow, Gregory. Another round of applause, please, everyone. There are a lot of brilliant people in the world, but not a lot of generous people, so thank you so much. I'm also nervous because, wow, like that's quite an outfit. This is a really tough act to sit next to.
Thank you.
So, Mudassar, you and I met briefly on Thursday over video, and I find your journey really interesting. For everyone here who may not be familiar with your work, I mean, you're obviously a top influencer globally in supply chain, but what is a 30,000-foot view of your story?
Right. How many people know what supply chain is? Okay, half the crowd. That's good. So supply chain is one of the body of knowledge like marketing, engineering, product development, sales, which has to do basically movements of materials, right? So from raw material to factory to distribution to the wholesale, right? So how can I get into this, right? So I did my engineering, got my master's, got my PhD admission, and I end up in UK and started working for a company called Eaton, right? where I've done all the jobs from a demand planning until division supply chain manager, right? And this is, I mean, my research is all about, my education is all about. It's pretty boring field, right? It's not as fun as sales or marketing, is back office, right? So that's what we do. So while I was working for Eaton, right, I found one big issue. And the issue was most of the people I was hiring or working for me are non-supply chain educated people. That means they're coming from finance or they're coming from engineering or they're just good in maths and say, you have a common sense, let's pick you up and put it into supply chain, right? So this is where the whole idea of SMDJ was born.
So you spent years and years in the corporate world, right? You've built skill sets and you've built a career there. And at some point, you decide to make the leap into entrepreneurialism. I think many people are at that point here in this room. You might be balancing a 9-to-5 job with aspirations for starting a business. Maybe you've just finally cut ties and you've started that business. Well, when we spoke, I was really interested in a few of the things you shared. This mindset shift between being in the corporate life to being an entrepreneur. And you've kind of codified some of this in a 4-step process, and you've talked a little bit more about kind of taking stock of your talent. But before we get into all of that, when you look back at your career, when you look back at your own talents at that juncture, what did you realize about yourself that made it feel like the right decision?
Yeah, so I'll take the second part first, right? So I always think I'm creative, right? People don't associate engineering and supply chain as a creative stuff, but creativity comes in different forms, process innovation is also creativity. And all the work I've done, I was performing well, but I was coming with the new ideas, right? But I was keep hitting walls within my company, right? So I was saying, okay, we should do this, we should digitalize our distribution channel, we should digitalize our supplier relationship manager, but it was not happening. But then I thought I should do something for me, myself, right? But then I thought entrepreneurship is one of the ways to do it. And I bought a book, The Startup. I started reading. I thought, okay, that's what I wanted to do. But then I hit by, okay, entrepreneurship is one thing, but I'm just a back office guy. I don't know sales or marketing. I don't even have a product. And then I start basically applying one of the things, actually, a lot of things Gregory has mentioned. And this is where I come up with my own 4-step process because this stat, I think, is a bit biased. When you say, we have seen just now that 98% of the startup fails, right? But there's a reason 98% of startup fails. Because most of the startups are done by young people, right? When they have less liability and so on and so forth. Someone like me, who spent 17, 18 years in the industry, knows the industry very well, understands the problem very well, but have a lot of personal liabilities, a lot of personal responsibilities. So how you can make that shift from somebody who has got mortgage to pay, kids' fees to pay, and so on and so forth, go and start the business, right? There's another stats, right? So the 2% of the startup which survives and grow, 68% of that is actually people 40 and above, right? So there's a paradox here. So the paradox is young people start, less liability, they fail because they don't know industry, they don't know their problem very well. But the older people, let's call it someone like me, mid-age, they have a liability and they can't take risk. So how can we do this transaction? And that is one of the most common questions I get when I get invited into a lot of podcasts and so on and so forth. So I'm just going to outline my personal journey with the 4-step framework, which is how I find the problem, build my skills, and then build the company, which is now almost 4 years next month. So as I mentioned, when I was working at Eaton, Bridgestone, most of the people end up in supply chain or non-supply chain people. But you have to train people, you have to educate people, right? To do that, once I go to my industry and find, okay, what is the cost? The cost is about $3,500 per person. It's hard to get budget. The second problem I saw in my industry it's hard to find subject matter expert. So what I mean by that, if you go to Accenture or McKinsey, they charge you $700 per hour, nobody has money. So we have a lot of issues in our industry which is very local, meaning right now you heard about the issue of tariffs, right? But how many people know how to solve tariffs? I know people who can solve tariffs. Then what I did was I started blogging. Basically, I started sharing my own content, right? So I realized, finding experts and finding low-cost education expensive, but I need to test the market. Meaning, I have to verify my problem, right? So for one of the steps Gregory mentioned, understand problem. How you understand problem? Because the problem I think may not necessarily you think or all of you think. So I start putting the content out there, start building my personal brand, start talking to people, start going into conferences, start networking as you guys are doing here right now. And what I realized, the problem I was thinking is the right problem. And there was a bit of luck, COVID happened, right? And somebody in Maersk Logistics contacted me saying, oh, Mudassir, we've seen your content, you have you're writing something very practical, it's not all theoretical. Do you mind creating a content for us or academy for us? I said, great. And he said, we're gonna pay you money. I was like, okay, for first time, somebody is gonna pay me money for something I know. So I did it for them. There was another US-based startup. There was all techie people, and they were into supply chain space. And they said, we're going to pay you as well for creating content. So I thought, there is opportunity. So I know my audience, I know the pain point. Step one, I know the problem. But the thing is, I need to make a product which people want to buy. How can I do that? Second step, how you create this product. So I bought a book called Lean Startup. I would recommend everybody, it's by Eric Ries. The book has a lot of good things, but it has one very important concept, which is called minimum viable product. Meaning, you make the simplest version of your product, give it to the users, get their feedback, and innovate from there on. So highly recommended. Anybody who's aspiring to be an entrepreneur, read that book and create your MVP, which could be a product or a service, doesn't matter, right? So I don't know how to do coding, then I come across this platform called Gumroad. I start basically selling my coaching, consulting, training services through Gumroad. I made $25,000. So here I have a problem and I have a proof of concept that my problem identified was correct, somebody is willing to pay me. Now, how to scale and how to leave the job. This is where the fun starts, right? So how to scale, how to leave the job, do this full time. So this is where the third and the most important step come in, which is learn to sell. Most of the people, unfortunately, in entrepreneurship, you can outsource everything. You know, one of the second last slides from Gregory, all the business functions. You can outsource operations, you can outsource HR, you can outsource accounting, you can outsource marketing, you can outsource PR, you can outsource everything. There's one function you cannot outsource. And that function is selling. And selling, what I mean, is not just selling to a customer, in fact. You have to do selling to everybody, means your investors, how you sell your idea. You have to sell to your hiring people, because once you're a startup, why somebody wants to join you? Everybody wants a stable life, a stable, payment. Startup is a risky business. So how you sell your vision and mission to people, they want to come and join you, right? So selling is a hard skill, right, which I have to acquire being a back office person. So start selling the concept, start selling product, right? So now I know that selling is the most important skill. But there was a part mistake, which we're going to come back, which is about I did it alone, right? I think we should pick this topic.
So, sorry, just before we go there, just to make sure, because there was a lot there, and I just want to make sure that it comes across. So one, this idea of an MVP, which is really critical. So the fact that a customer or someone has a problem is not validation enough, right? The fact that somebody is willing to pay for solving that problem. And now, if the person that you're putting it in front of is not willing to pay for it, it doesn't mean that that isn't necessarily viable. It means that, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, your customer profile, your ideal customer, maybe you're not selling it to the right person. So that is one thing that's really key. And then the other piece that you said that I think was really important that I want to make sure isn't lost is selling is not just the transaction in exchange for money. You're selling your story, you're selling your idea, you're constantly promoting yourself in some way, shape, or form so that people can believe in you in a way that they might do business with you, might be a partner with you, might support your business, what have you. Is that fair?
That's correct, yeah. And I think this term you will hear a lot, ICP, Ideal Customer Persona. But how do you know what is your ICP? Generally, people associate this with the end user, the person who's going to use your product or services. But actually, what I learn is they're not. A classic example of that is if you have a kids product, who is the ICP? Kids or the parents? Parents, right? So in my case, the same thing. Even though my field is supply chain, I'm helping supply chain people, but they do not have budgets. They do not actually have a money to pay me. So ICPs are CEOs, CFOs, the person with the lock and key to the money. But how to reach them? How to actually prove that your value proposition is useful for their products and businesses. So one thing is I am finding the problem, the users, the solution. The second thing is coming up with the story and your pitch to give it to the people who will actually have the money to pay you, right? And so then you go to the next step and understand what they want to hear. Most of the CFOs want to hear what? Improve efficiency, save me money, save me lead time, make my customer happy. And I want to throw in two more concepts here. When we talk about innovation or solving a problem, generally there is two types, which is market-driven or innovation-driven. Apple is example who is innovation-driven, AI, ChatGPT, innovation-driven. But market-driven means you have to understand the customer problem and then solve their problem and what they are facing, and this is where you have to do a lot of listening, right? So I think these two parts you understand, I think it's important. Once you understand, then you can make the product. So when it comes to product, especially when people think about product, which is a physical product or the services. So how you define value for your product. Physical product is easy. You have a price, you have a cost, you have a quality, you have a delivery. And I come up with this concept, I think we call it service as a product. So if you're into service business, which consulting is and coaching is, you can do the same thing. You can productize your service. That means I will provide you this service at this cost, at this lead time, and that's the benefit.
So when we spoke, you naturally ended up at this place in the conversation that I think was really impactful. When we think about entrepreneurs, if anyone closed their eyes right now and thought about entrepreneurs or thinks about founders, you get the individual in your mind. You know, Steve Jobs is the natural, most obvious one for many people. Henry Ford, the pioneers in any industry. You think about the individual. But there's something that you said that really struck a chord with me, which is an insight and a learning that you had, which was don't go it alone. And I think that that's something that we really need to spend a little bit of time here on understanding. What does that mean?
So if you come up with this idea and the problem, is this enough? And do you think you can do all of it? Just think about that for a minute, right? And if you see most of the successful startup, Google, Meta, now previously Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, all of them are 2 or more people, and there's a reason for that. If you apply to Y Combinator right now for your startup, they will just kick you out if you're one person straight away. They want 2 founders. Because it's very hard to do everything alone. So if you ask me right now, I've founded one company, Sindujo. I'm also a co-founder right now called Plantrix, which is AI-powered demand planning forecasting company. And the reason is the mistake I learned from, because it's very hard to do everything alone. Hard to do everything alone in terms of sales and marketing, thinking about product, thinking about go-to-market, thinking about legal stuff, thinking about accounting, hiring people is hard. And regardless how good you are, how much great energy you have, you just don't know everything. Everybody have their own strength, and you have to find a person who will complement. So in my case, I found a guy, he's our CTO, he's kind of co-founder. He's very good in coding and programming. So that's something you can rely on. So there's a stats which says the chances of failure, which higher with one founder, is higher if you are 4 and above, but it's very high if you're 2 people or 3 people. Take the classic example of Airbnb. 3 people, one of the most successful startups because all 3 people bring in their own strength. So one is product person, one is more legal, commercial, and the other person is more onto the managing the operations.
Right. So when we think about that stage in the journey, there's founders, co-founders. Sometimes it's the early hires, the key people. One of the things that the team at Backstretch and I really believe is that those first few people that you bring onto the business are absolutely critical. And also, I personally believe that any startup really needs this excess cognitive capacity, this ability to think laterally across multiple domains and disciplines. But when you're looking for those people, what is it that you're looking for? Like knowing what you know about yourself and your experience and your skills, what do you look for and what do you encourage others to look for?
I think simply hire people who will complement your strengths, right? So weaknesses, right? And support your strengths. For example, I know enough about technology, but I don't want to be a coder. So I have to hire somebody who's good in coding. Lead generation is one of the most important function, not my skill. So I have to hire somebody who's lead gen, right? Marketing, I'm good at. Sales, understanding problem, I'm good at. So I don't have to hire at the start, right? So you need to understand who you hire, who will complement the growth. But hiring is initially is one of the most important thing you would do, right? Hiring the right talent and right people is the most important thing you do. But you will hit by the dilemma here because most people wants to raise funds, right? And they say we want to hire marketing team and go to market and admin, but really do you know what you're going to do with this money? And Greg has a very interesting stats that you're going to burn money in training and productivity. So this is where I would say is, which if I follow through my four-step process, one other thing I did is I realized that I know what I'm doing, I understand my ICP, but I can't just jump ship. I was very well paid, I was in Dubai, I was doing a supply chain manager. It's very hard to leave a cushion job. You have to be partially crazy. You have to be risk taker, but how you take risk and how you take calculated risk, right? So the way you take calculated risk is I hired two people while I was on the job. One was the content creator and one was CTO. And I did make sure that they are getting paid and they're gonna stay after 6 months, right? And while on the job, so now we have a product, now we have a team, now we have consistent income, and I basically, that moved to the last step, right? That I have make sure that I have enough money in the bank, that if I leave my job, I can pay them for 6 months, and I have enough money in the bank that I can pay myself for 1 year. This is the fourth step, right? You have to do this calculation that what is your burn rate, because one thing I can tell you for sure, you can't just leave job and jump into the startup and assume money gonna come. It just will not happen. It just never happened to most people. Either you are very good in raising funds, which is very hard to raise funds these days, or it's find customers, which is also very hard. So what I did was stay on the job for 1 year. Of course, it's doubly the hard work, but you have to do it. Hire the right people while you're working, so make sure you have the right team before you press this exit button.
There's this, let's just pause on this for a moment. There's these concepts in business, other people's money, right? Which is where you're borrowing money, you're getting funding to be able to grow it. There's also this concept of other people's time, and I think what you did here was actually a really brilliant example of that, because while working full-time, even though you had the IP and the idea for the business, you realized you didn't have both the time and perhaps some of the background and skills in some of these domains. So while you were working, you had two other people working on your business, so the business never really stopped. And I think that shows both a level of foresight, but it also shows a level of humility, right? To understand what you're good at, but also understand where your challenges might be and bring on the right people. Is that fair?
Absolutely correct. Just add one more point on this. People think I'm already employed, I cannot sell. But let me assure you, if you cannot sell while you're on the job, you will never gonna sell when you leave the job. I can bet on that. That's the biggest lesson. So I learned how to take, the hardest thing in business is get other people pay you, in simple terms. So if you can't make people do it while you're working and having a salary, you won't be able to do it after. So learn that skill while you're on the job.
That is, that was actually something else that really stuck out. These muscles, these skills to be able to sell, to get up in front of people, to tell that story, it doesn't just turn on like a light switch one day. It takes practice, it takes cultivation, and you need to do it on an ongoing basis. And as you do that, you get better at it, or as you do that, you might realize maybe you're really not cut out for that thing. And so I get a sense that you really did a lot of soul searching along this journey.
Yeah, absolutely correct. And I think if you work in big companies like our work for Eaton, Bridgestone, they're very structured, process-oriented, highly talented people around you, a lot of clever, a lot of systems. They almost make your brain immune to taking risk, because what is not good for any big corporate is taking risk. They want to avoid risk and they want to be more certain in anything they do. But entrepreneurship is actually different skill set. So how you build your brain muscles to do all of this, yeah? Especially you work in, I don't know, whatever financial function, you find a problem, you want to solve that problem. But that's fine, but how you build your mental muscles? Taking risk also takes practice. You have to keep taking risk, you have to be, and the second thing you have to be, which is very skill you don't use in corporate world, is grit. Is super important for the entrepreneurs. You have to show a lot of grit that I'm going to get hit by a lot of problems, a lot of roadblock, but I'm going to continue to see through, right? I'll just at the introduction, for example, okay, LinkedIn influencers and all that, this all fine, that's my recent swag. Even ChatGPT recommended me these days as well. But a lot of people start doing content on LinkedIn, and we have a LinkedIn guru. My boss here, Hamas Siddiqui, because of him, I did what I did. That's a free shout out, by the way. You can pay me later, right? Uh, it took me almost 8.5 years of consistent content creation, both on YouTube, on LinkedIn, everywhere, to get to that stage. Otherwise, why someone would like to mention, why Google would like to mention that? It's all take grit and consistency. And this is one of the hardest thing which corporate world do not train you. Because if you go hit by something, they're gonna say, oh, do something else, do different projects. So risk taking, learning grit, super important.
Were there points in your journey where you think back to and they were really, really difficult and you thought, maybe this isn't going to work out?
Yeah, every 3 months. Every 3 months. I had a failed startup as well. Every 3 months happens. One of the things I missed is after 2 years of bootstrapping, I thought to grow we need to raise funding. I start, asking seed funding. I found a German consulting group who end up spending 200. I mean, they promised about $750,000, and they invest $250,000. So partially exit the company as well. And after 1 year, they said, oh, sorry, we can't fund because our company in trouble. The idea was to exit them anyway. But what do you do? It happened in March this year. So your seed investor is telling you, I can't pay you any money, even though legally signed up. What do you do? Leave? Go? What choice you have? It's 3 years of hard work. Should I leave? No. You find a way. You go and find a way. And then, it says, luck is, when preparation meets the, what was this? Preparation meets the opportunity or things like this, right? So and all the lead generation work I was doing, I have LVHM, I have Lego, I have No Artist, I have Jaguar Land Rover, all of these customers. They're big companies, they take 12 months to pay you to sign up. And fortunately, all of these good companies start coming in. And then we have a pipeline of revenue generation, and we survived.
Maybe a quick show of hands here. How many people here are on that journey right now? Starting a business, just started a business? Okay. For the people in the room that are thinking about it, even if it's just with their inside voice, what is the one thing you would leave them with today?
I would just leave with this, my 4-step process is to, I want to easily summarize it, which is first, understand the problem better. And there's a money in boring stuff. Everybody wants to be glittery problems, but there's still a money in boring stuff. So understand the problem. Second, create your minimum viable product. Third, learn how to sell while you're in a job. And before you press the exit button, make sure you have a runway to survive at least 1 year. Hire people, you have to pay them because that's very important. And once that happens, your chances will grow from, I think, from 2% success factors to more than 70. I'm pretty sure of that.
Amazing. Mudassir, where can people find you and stay in touch?
Just Google my name. No. So I'm on LinkedIn. I think that's the best way to contact. On Instagram, I have a handle called @Mudassirism, which is same everywhere. And my email is mudassir@scmdojo.com.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any poet right now?
What's that? Sorry?
Any poem from you?
If you'll indulge me, I will. But
Yeah,
I wasn't planning on it.
Just do 1 minute.
This was completely unplanned, and I might not remember it, but here goes. As the petals of a flower wither by the hour, as the leaves of a tree swelter and from the scorching sun seek shelter, you put on those glasses to see the world better, while instead you should be cleaning the dust off your own mirror and gazing into this mirror with its infinite reflection. But God, why, I ask you, when all that which is true lies within me, waiting in hibernation through the winter of my soul's desolation, like the seeds in December's garden? Why, I ask you, when all that I see is two, while knowing that all is one, and yet relish this entrapment of my perceived duality as the world rides along in all its totality on a path that leaves its salvation neither in its rewards nor its modality. Oh God, for when will come that day when your 1,000 names are seen as one and the oneness of humanity is celebrated under the sun? You see, My quest for salvation has been interrupted by the breaking news flash of a nation that shoots itself with its own ammunition and then claims that it is live and on location. What nation is this, you ask? I ask you, what nation is this not? For every finger that points, 3 others point back at the hand from which they extend, and in the end, you have 15 billion fingers pointing back at the hearts of the nations that dare to point in one another in desperation. Why not close these fingers around the suffering of others' pain whose lingers, and form a fist which fights the hands of the self that dared to point in the first place? Oh God, for when will come that day?
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Ah. Right, right. Okay, cool. I'm gonna stand. Is it okay? Thank you, thank you.
So one thing that stood out to me in that conversation was sales is key. And your customer must want to pay you to solve their problem. This is something I struggle with as well. So before we ask that question, I just want to know how many people in the room love sales and are good at it for their business? Ooh.
Good, good. I like this.
So quite a few hands. That's good to hear. Maybe.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is the most essential skill for sales? What? Yes, sir. At the back. No, no. Yes. And for that, you have to listen. Yes. So someone like me who likes to talk a lot, one of the hardest thing is to listen, right? It's hard to listen. So I have to really learn. And there's a two kinds of listening. Listen just for the sake of listening and listening to understand and listening to respond. What the hardest part for me was, which is a skill I have to learn, is listen to understand. So just acknowledging my own weaknesses because everybody have one. What else?
Did we have someone with the mic?
Yeah, I
back
think
there?
there was
Yeah.
at the back, yeah.
Yeah, you said you work on content for how many years?
8
Did I
years.
hear it? 8?
8 years, yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Every day, every day.
Oh, okay. And then today the product you're selling is it a service or I did not really grab?
So what we built was, we have built the world largest supply chain academy with about 27 experts. I'm one of the experts because I don't know everything. So, and we also provide, we call it fractional consulting. And then we are also making right now apps because AI apps is easy. So supply chain is actually a very small niche. There's only 8 million people in the world, right? So we are, let's call it one of the big fishes in a very small pond. So we provide all the solutions, which is knowledge solutions, consulting solutions, and technology solutions.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
That's cool.
No.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I'll ask you, Mudassar. Would you
Okay.
be my coach?
I'll be your coach.
But I can't pay you.
The coach is here. I'm just.
He's
I'm
already on my payroll.
He has a
yes.
payroll, right? No. By all, are you gonna pay me?
I don't know. I don't think I can.
Yeah. Okay. So here you go. Everything, every good
So
thing.
the answer is no.
No good things in life come for free.
That's
No good
true.
things come for free. So you have to pay for it. No, but since you're nice to me, I'll be your coach. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Yeah.
Thank you. No. Another great session here. So we have a little bit of a alteration in our lineup. Next we have a spotlight with Talib Nur Muhammad. He is in conversation with our very own Hamad Siddiqui, and the topic that they're going to be covering is creating the next generation of Canadian success stories. So the Honorable Talib Nur Muhammad is a member of Parliament currently serving as the Parliamentary Secretary for AI and Digital Innovation. He has built and led large global technology companies, creating hundreds of jobs in Canada and around the world. And he will be joining us virtually today from Ottawa. So let's listen in, and I'll just intro Mr. Siddiqui, who needs no introduction. He has over 87,000 followers on LinkedIn. When I grow up, I want to be Hamad Siddiqui. He is the executive director of the Canada Startup Association. He has worked in 12 countries on economic policy reforms, and he is a startup ecosystem reform. Startup ecosystem reform is one of his areas of interest. So keep your pens poised for this one. It's going to be good. Hamad, where are you going to be for speaking with the MP?
Yeah, so I'll be speaking from here, but I'm trying to get him on Zoom. He'll be joining us from Ottawa because Parliament is in the session, so they can't really travel out of Ottawa, apparently. So he's joining us from on Zoom, so I'm just communicating with his staff to let me know as soon as he joins in. So give me a second, let me finish this message.
Maybe if you guys just want to do a quick stand up where you are to stretch your legs if you like, or say hello to your neighbor, introduce yourself while we get our speaker on the Zoom call.
Has he joined? All right, folks, MP Talib Noor Mohammed is with us on Zoom. Can I have your attention, please? Hello, hello, hello. We have the MP joining us. I'm not sure, MP, are you joining in from Ottawa or from BC?
I'm in Ottawa today.
Ottawa. Thank you. Good morning. And thank you for your time today to share things with us, things that are happening in the space of AI and digital innovation. My name is Hamas Siddiqui. I am the Executive Director and co-founder of Canada Startup Association, and we have our President and founder, Tamina, also here. So before I start, I'll just ask a little question with the audience. We have a house full. How many of you speak Arabic? Anybody speaks Arabic? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. French? Anyone? Yes, quite a few. Gujarati? Anybody Gujarati? You understand, but I know Naz speaks Gujarati as well. Hindi or Urdu? Hindi and Urdu, quite a few. And of course, Persian. Anybody Persian? Yeah, one person. So our MP speaks these 6 languages, right? Okay, so, and this is the beauty of this country, diversity, right? So, and one of the things that I worked in 12 countries and did a lot of policy advocacy, the biggest problem happens when your policy makers do not understand your problem. They are there to help you. So today, what we are going to start with, first of all, thank you very much for spending time on such a short notice. I really want to ask you, this is a brand new ministry, AI and digital innovation. What are we up to? What are we doing? Please share some thoughts. And then I have a few more questions, very specific to the startup ecosystem.
Sure. No, you can hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Well, look, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I know you were expecting MP Naqvi. Yasser and I are very good friends, and people mistake us all the time. So we're fairly interchangeable. Yasser is right now in Malaysia on a trade mission, and so I'm just glad to be able to share with you some thoughts on this particular topic. So look, the whole reason for setting up this new ministry and setting up this new department is really around creating the moment for Canada where we can actually take advantage of things that are happening around us. But there are two big forces around us right now that we know. One is the fact that the geopolitics of the world are changing in ways that we haven't seen. The rapid scale of basically the destruction of the world order that we've known for a very, very long time is happening before our eyes. And so there's uncertainty in the world, there's challenge, and in the world of technology, there's even more risk because innovation is happening at a pace and a rate that we haven't seen before. We are seeing AI and quantum becoming such important parts of what we do, the need for compute being such a big part of what every country is sort of fighting for right now, that for us as Canada, I mean, there's really an interesting moment. That moment looks a bit like this. When you think about what is being done on innovation, when you think about what is being done on in AI, in computing around the world, one of the big questions that we often get is how do we make sure that our sovereignty is protected? And the big challenge we're dealing with right now is, of course, a question of Canadian sovereignty. And when you are looking at threats in terms of terrorists, when you're looking at threats in terms of issues at the border, when you're looking at threats in terms of literal threats being made about Canadian sovereignty, the big question becomes, what about my data? What about my ideas? What about my thoughts? And the big challenge that we are seeing right now is that the threat to Canadian sovereignty also comes in the form of innovation, research, data, and our intellectual capital. And so one of the things that is kind of critical for us is to make sure that our government is investing the time, the effort, the resources into ensuring that there is a strong technology ecosystem in this country that is focused on building AI that aligns with Canadian values, but that is also building sovereign cloud and compute capacity in this country that ensures that we have the horsepower that is required for the businesses of the future, while also protecting the data and the security of Canadians today. Now, why is this important? We live in a world right now where the United States government passed something called the Cloud Act. What the Cloud Act allows the US government to do is to access IP, to access data, to access information that exists on US cloud, on any pipe that travels through the US, on any cloud that associates with the US in terms of data storage. And perhaps, most concerning to us is US owned companies. And so the question then becomes, how do we make sure that Canadian data, Canadian IP, Canadian research lives on the cloud in Canada, on Canadian servers, connected by Canadian pipe, so that there is no risk of IP theft, there is no risk of data breach, et cetera, et cetera. That's part of the reason why there's an opportunity here. Now, if you look at like-minded partners around the world in Europe and other places, they're asking the question, how do we make sure that we have good partners that we can work with in these areas where we can collaborate on healthcare research? I was speaking at a healthcare conference this morning on integrity matters, on matters that deal with national security, et cetera, and not have to worry that that data would then be used maliciously. And so this is a big part of what we're all about. We're about ensuring that we are building the bridges, investing in, cultivating, nurturing Canadian winners in digital, in AI, in tech, innovation, and in quantum in a very significant way, at the same time as we are investing in it with real dollars and real opportunity, creating opportunities for Canadian innovators to sell to government, but at the same time making sure we're putting in the guardrails such that Canadians and their economic and social integrity is protected. So that's part of why we exist, and it's about meeting this moment and about seeing this moment as an opportunity rather than as a moment of fear, right? People are afraid of technology, people are afraid of what's happening in the world right now. If we embrace these two things and say, look, it's a moment for Canada to take advantage of these two kind of converging forces at a time of great uncertainty, and we set ourselves up for success, I mean, we become the world leader very quickly.
Yes, no, absolutely. Whatever is happening in the south of our great nation is something which is worrying a lot of people. I was reading the other day with this technology visa thing, and this is one question which really came to my mind, is that if the US, which is a huge market for technology talent, if the talent is not coming from elsewhere, the easiest way for getting the talent will become the Canadian talent, which is immigrants as well as the other talent, because they get paid more, and US companies are aggressive in hiring as well, whereas Canadian companies are not as aggressive as possible. Are you looking at it? I mean, I know it's just happened 3 days ago, but is that something that you are looking at, the talent pool? Because without a talent pool,
Absolutely.
we can't really go anywhere.
No, absolutely. I think, look, we're in a moment right now where the US used to be the place everyone wanted to go. And now less so, right? And when you start doing things like what was just sort of this $100,000 H-1B fee, when you start to close doors off to people, when you look at what's happening in the healthcare research community right now around biotech, around vaccines, around research on those types of things, there is a massive talent pool of people that need to go and do their research somewhere. And we should absolutely be finding ways to capture that, to capture those people, to bring them to Canada, make them feel like they can, live and work and thrive and do their research here. And so absolutely, it's a big part of our strategy. Talent attraction is a very important thing for us. And we need to make that process easy and painless for them when they come here.
Awesome. So my next question, which is related to the same question, is one of the very interesting, stream was or is still the startup visa stream, where
Yeah.
a lot of immigrants came in, and we heard about like misuse of this scheme and the revamping of this scheme and everything. Now the situation is, what I read is there are 15,000 startup visa applicants that are still waiting for decisions now, and it would take anything between 3 to 4 years. Now for entrepreneurship, everything has to happen very quickly, right? I know it's not your domain directly, immigration, but just wanted to kind of pick your brain up, because you just said this is the opportunity time for us. What are we doing? I mean, are we kind of looking at it from that perspective as well? I mean, I won't
No, we
expect
are.
a long
We are.
Yeah.
Look, you can't not. I mean, look, our systems in this country have to be agile. They have to be set up in such a manner that we can take advantage of moments like this. And look, we should be making it as easy as possible for people who have intellectual capital that we need in this country to be able to come to this country and do work. You know, I have a background in tech. I come from 15 years of building tech companies, so I understand firsthand what the risks are, what the opportunity is, what the talent needs are. At least in my sector, that were important. I see that every day when I talk to entrepreneurs. So our job is exactly that, right? Part of our ministry's job is to make sure we are advocating on behalf of the sector to immigration, to saying to the immigration minister in that department, look, folks, this isn't working well. These are the issues that we need to get over. These are the issues that we need to deal with. That is part of our job. Because if you're trying to attract global businesses to be here, if you're trying to fund Canadian companies and they need to attract talent to this country, that talent has to be able to get here very painlessly. Otherwise, it doesn't matter at all.
Absolutely. So I was just doing a little maths here. If these 15,000 startups that are waiting a decision, if they all get, like hypothetically, approved, and they come here, of course, they're going to not only bring in the money. If one startup creates 2 jobs, there are 30,000 jobs in tech sector in Canada, which is huge looking at our own little economy. So something that we really would like to see happening. But of course, the due diligence and everything has to be kept so that people don't misuse this stream, which is very important. Now, on the international trade front, what Canada Startup Association has been doing 2 things. One is that as an advocacy organization, we would really like to work closely with the government, both in the international trade with MP Yasin Naqvi and with your ministry as well, because almost all the startups that work with us or are a part of our ecosystem are somewhat related to tech, AI and tech. It could be cloud computing, it could be cybersecurity, health tech, fintech, whatever, biotech. So the pathway that we have been working for for the past couple of years is taking Canadian startups which are underrepresented. Maybe you can call them like a smaller startup, not the unicorns. We only have 10 unicorns anyway in the country, but smaller startups into international market where there is more money available. And so what we found out is this, I'm sure a lot of people know about GITEX Expand North Star, which is world's largest tech exhibition and conference. Canada Startup Association joined hand with them. We are their official representatives in Canada. And we took a delegation of 7 companies last year, all privately funded, zero government funding. So they paid their own expense and went to the conference, have been very successful. This year, in October, which is next month, we are taking 24 companies. And this is, you can see the number has grown significantly from 7 to 24. And we are a young organization, so almost 2.5 years only. So there is a need for looking at those pots of money which are available out there. And we really want to kind of push these startups. Okay, if government support comes in terms of finance, that's okay. But you're a business, you have to invest into yourself. So what we would really like to learn from you is, from the international trade perspective, what are some of the things government is doing? Because we know Prime Minister Carney has been pretty much into international trade beyond the south of our market. What are some of the things that you would like to share with us for our audience?
Look, Canada has one of the best trade regimes in the world. We have trade agreements effectively with 51 different countries, free trade agreements basically 51 different countries. Now, the thing is this, we have never needed them. Because of the US, we've never needed to use these other agreements. But as there has been uncertainty in the world, we have the ability now to unlock with Asia, with Europe, with Latin America, all of the markets where we already have agreements. So the question now is just to basically make sure, what are we doing to ensure that Canadian businesses are taking advantage of that, facilitating those relationships. And part of the reason Yash is in Malaysia right now is to make sure that we're advancing our partnership there, that we're able to move things along. But so many of these countries want more of Canada. They want Canadian commodities, they want Canadian products, they want Canadian technology, they want Canadian resources. And there are things that we need from other places. So I think for us now, the moment is about taking advantage of every single one of these trade agreements that we have done over the last several years to say, now we have the agreements, let's use them to our advantage. And that's exactly what we're doing, whether it's trade missions, whether it's strengthening relations, whether it's going in, promoting Canadian business, whether it's inviting Canadian, or whether it's inviting international investors, international sort of partners in other countries to procure from Canada. That's kind of how we do this. We really make sure that government is facilitating as much of this as possible.
That's awesome. So going forward, I think this conversation has to continue because we all want Canada to prosper, Canadian companies to do more business. Government is on our side as well, as I always call it. It's a very private sector driven government. So at this point in time, if there are any questions from the audience, this is our opportunity, another about 10 to 15 minutes. We have a question, MP, so your name and...
Thank you. My name is Cynthia N.A., and I sit on the board for Defense Construction Canada. I'm also a founder for my startup. I was really excited to see the government launch this new AI division and department. And when I look at other countries, very small, some of them like Singapore, and their very aggressive strategies towards AI, from implementing AI into all levels of education, to equipping the workforce of the nation, giving them bursaries and funding to go and retool themselves for a wave of AI jobs and opportunities that are coming our way. I see some people that have been in Singapore for a long time. What are you doing, and what is this ministry and department doing to partner with other departments, education or labor, and what can we expect as the Canadian people for this? Thank you.
And I would add one more thing. What do you expect from us to do? How do we contribute into your amazing efforts?
Yeah, I know it's a great question. So let me start. Let me start first by saying, what can Canadians expect? Look, I think there's a couple of things that we are doing. This morning, as I mentioned, I was speaking at a health tech summit, and that The whole question there was how do we make sure we're using large language models? How do we use data coming out of the healthcare system to improve patient quality, improve patient care? How do we get AI to be a tool that helps physicians, particularly radiologists and GPs, to provide better patient care? So there's one whole area there. The second thing I would say is this, and we're also looking at how do we make sure that workers who are working outside of these industries where there may be some challenge, there may be some obsolescence, what do we do? So we've announced like more than $20 million worth of supports now for existing workers to be able to train, particularly folks from resource-driven industries that are seeing a sort of reduction in jobs, to training up to be in jobs in AI and in tech. And I mean, that's a big thing, right? Because you're basically saying, we acknowledge there's a major gap we're going to need to fill, but there's huge opportunity for workers. There's a huge opportunity for some of these businesses that want to take on adoption for us to be able to help them in that way. So that's kind of what I would say. So Canadians can expect three things. One, that we're going to have a very Canadian human-centric approach to this, which is we're going to use AI as much as possible in government to improve process, not to replace people. Number two is we're going to look at how do we use AI to improve the fidelity of the information that we're giving people to make better informed decisions. And third, how do we not lose sight of our values when we're using AI and we're using other digital tools to be able to build the suite of services that we provide to Canadians.
Awesome. Any more questions? Yep.
Hello, hi. My name is Walid Sami. You might be aware that the EU now, they have their AI Act, which is the first legal framework to control stuff like how students use AI to everything else. Do we expect to see something similar in Canada anytime soon?
It's a good question. Look, I mean, we're always working on ways to make sure that the use of technology is well managed and well handled. I mean, these are discussions that are ongoing for us right now. I can't speak to any bills that may or may not be under consideration, but what you've just raised is a very real concern that we are thinking through, and we're seeing how other partners, European partners, are handling it.
So, any more questions? Folks, this is your opportunity. Yep.
Hi, my name is Igor Shugin, presented droneship, one of the startups. I remember reading several press releases from the government talking about the potential for what's called AI adoption tax credit, quote unquote, so some sort of funding mechanism to help small businesses adopt AI. Can you comment on any perspective for this to be, of course, if you can, I know the budget is not there, but if you know something, that'd be great.
I mean, I would say two things. One is I would say stay tuned for the budget. And the other thing that I would say is, look, we have been saying since the outset, we want people to take these technologies on. We want people to take advantage. We want people to be well-positioned and businesses to be well-positioned. So we're going to make the investments to make it easier for businesses to take advantage of these things, for people to take advantage of these things. It may come in the form of tax credits. It may come in the form of other incentives. But our job is to make sure we are reducing the barrier as much as possible so that more and more entrepreneurs, more and more business owners, more and more enterprises can actually take advantage of what's available.
Awesome. One more question.
My name's Brent Edwards. Brent Canada Experiences is my company, so we do help newcomer entrepreneurs with professional networking. So my question for you is related to the One Canadian economy. So we're talking a lot today about export markets outside of Canada, but I'm looking at just the reduction in trade barriers and labor mobility within Canada. And are there real opportunities that entrepreneurs in the room today should be looking at that are next door? So if you could
Absolutely. Absolutely, and it's a fabulous question, actually, because one of our big thrusts has been how do we, it has been easier historically to do business with south of the border states than it has been to deal with the province next door. And so part of this effort is to do the thing that you just described, which is to say, let's make it easier for businesses from BC and Ontario to trade in Quebec and, Atlantic Canada and wherever else. And I think that's the gift, right? Like we've all got this motivation to do this. Everyone seems very, very keen to push forward. And the best part of this actually is that by doing this way, there's active incentive by all these different provincial governments to play nice with each other. And in the tech sector, in AI and in digital, it's a question of bringing researchers together. It's a question of like breaking down the stereotype sort of silos. And you are seeing there's a very real desire, not just coming from the private sector, but from government to collaborate across geographies because there is this view that if we all do well, we all succeed, right? Rising tides in this game does lift all boats. So making sure that we have enough boats in the water that are all pulling in the same direction, that's huge. And in this space, more than ever before, because the more that you can daisy chain on success, the better off you're able to be.
Superb. Any more questions? All right. On behalf of all those who are here and Canada Startup Association, I really would like to thank you for your time and the input that you have provided. We would really like to continue this conversation, and of course, a lot of interesting policy advocacy initiatives could be developed around these, because a lot of like underrepresented and immigrant entrepreneurs that come here often, and this is what we discussed this morning as well, they, one of the biggest challenge for them is the guidance. They really don't know who to speak to, where to go to, and how to move to the next level. And a lot of successful entrepreneurs who have been successful back home, they really struggle. So let's work together, MP, with your ministry, with Yasir's ministry, and we really would like to work with you to ease that whole process of people continuing and prospering and thriving in our beautiful country called Canada. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Take
very
care.
much.
Thanks. Really wonderful work you guys are doing. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Another great chat. You know, it's really nice to know that we have a ministry in Canada to do with AI and digital innovation. And we obviously have their attention here at Canada Startup Association. So if you have your ideas, if you're struggling, if you don't know which way to go and which direction to head, or if you know somebody who is in that same boat, bring them over to Canada Startup Association and let's talk. So thank you for your attention to that. Great speaker. We're moving right along. We're moving right along. How is everybody doing so far? Yeah, good. So we have just two more things to go through, and then hoping to break for lunch around 1, just to kind of give you a little bit of a heads up. So our next speaker is going to be Miriam Francisque. She is going to be led by none other than our own Tamina Chowdhury. They're going to be talking about bringing worldwide ideas to create meaningful change in our communities. So Miriam is a global business diversity and inclusion strategist, currently working at Export Development Canada. She is a supporter for strengthening the startup ecosystem so that more startups are able to explore global markets. That's pretty interesting, Miriam. And Tamina, where are you? Come on up to the stage.
So we are very excited to, for the first time, on the stage together. So hi everyone, those who had just joined or never met with me. So I am Tamina Chowdhury again here. I'm the founder and president of Canada Startup Association. And at CSA, we work with early stage and scaling startups from across Canada. And what we are doing differently, that we are trying to help startups in a way that they can figure out what they want to do next. And that's why we have Miriam with us from Export Development Canada. Miriam is one of our best ally, and we have been working and trying to figure out how we can work together and how we can help startup to scale sustainably. Miriam is Miriam, I would like you to introduce yourself in your own words.
Thank you so much, Tamina. Thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here today. I think we've heard from amazing speakers that provided nuggets of gold for entrepreneurs and startups alike. So it's very much an honor for me to be here. So I've been working within the international global development space, trade for the past 20 years already. Helping and supporting many different businesses, public, private, startups, had my own company as well. So when I heard Dr. Musani speaking about, selling your products to your customers and them wanting to pay you for this, I know what it means. And courting them for years before acquiring businesses and customers. So I know what it is. Again, it's a pleasure for me to support the Canada Startup Association. I've seen Tamina and team working tirelessly for businesses, for members of the community that are, wavering their wins stacked against them, right, in this system. So thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. And honestly, we have been working with Miriam, and there is a misconception about the government organization, and she totally changed it. She's the one, she's someone who actually walk and talk what the real support means. She is available for all your rants, for all your complaints, and always trying to find you a solution. So Miriam, regarding Export Development Canada, there is a misconception. We talk with a lot of startups, and every time we hear this, that we are not ready for export. We are not ready for Export Development Canada. But we realize and understand that Export Development Canada is not only for those startups and companies who are already exporting. And you provide a lot of support for the startups and companies who are just starting up. So let's, dive into that.
Right, thank you, Tamina. So I'll start by providing a simple definition of who is Export Development Canada. Probably a lot of you wonder what it is, this organization. We're a Crown Corporation, we're government backed. The government is one of our shareholders, and so we work as a Canada Export Credit Agency, supporting Canadian exporters, go global and succeeding in those markets. So we provide different, solutions of products, risk mitigation solutions, trade financing, and also knowledge products and knowledge solutions. So what's important to understand is that exporters are at different phases in their journey, right? You could be a direct exporter, you could be a born global company. So again, if your first customers were in foreign markets and were paying you in different currencies, then you are already an exporter. Whether you are service-based, product-based, it's not when you're just shipping products or goods across borders that you are an exporter. You're an exporter when you have foreign customers and that they pay you. Otherwise, you're a nonprofit, which is not really the same thing. And so you could be as well a indirect exporter, which you would be entitled to having the support of, organization like yours, meaning that you're selling services or products that are embedded into the supply chain of a direct exporter. So let's say you manufacture a vehicle or auto parts, and you sell to auto manufacturers that exports in another market, then you are an indirect exporter and you could be qualified as a customer for us. But there's also the next exporters. So the companies that are thinking about export, they don't really know what it means. They're like, yeah, maybe in the next 2 years, if I hear a little bit more, if I know, if I learn, if I train my stuff, maybe. And then there's also the ready to export, which are the companies or the startups that are saying, listen, we're already looking at other markets. We don't really know specifically, or we don't have specific contracts, but we're looking at those markets. So there's really different categories of customers that we can have. We support at different levels. So again, if they're startups, then they can acquire knowledge products. Again, they're meaning that, we have webinars, we have articles, podcasts, we have a lot of different information products that we can just, that are available for customers and prospects alike. So really it's about what you're looking for in terms of your next steps in your journey.
Thank you, Miriam. So with my personal experience, while we are working with a lot of startups and we are taking these companies to different parts of the world, So, whenever I introduce a company to you, you are always willing to talk and willing to support. And we also talk about with a lot of startups for export readiness. So what is export readiness? And the other thing is that I would like you to explain for, for the people who doesn't know that, we always talk about with the startups, Gregory also mentioned that, to have it early in the DNA, that when you are ready to scale. So when is the right time for these startups to think about exporting? And what is exactly the export readiness is that, okay, they have a product, they are ready, they have the ready MVP, and now they are looking to other markets. So what is the right time and best time that they should come to you?
That's a tricky question because it's very different. There's no one size fits all in this field. There's no. Really what my experience has taught me is that there's no a single playbook for all exporters, absolutely not. It depends on your operations, your strategies, your processes, your model, your vision, who are your customers, how do you acquire your customers. So really it depends on where you are at in your journey and thinking about, okay, my customers actually are abroad. If they are already in another market, then the market you're living in or you're established in, then it's where you gotta go. You're not gonna see your customers running away. Or if you wanna proceed first with expanding in your domestic market and then move on to your global markets, that's another option. It really depends on you. It's not, so where I am in the process is really looking at how do you run your business and where I see this entry point for you, or maybe you tell me, listen, I'm not interested right now. Again, it's fine. Then maybe later. And sometimes you might not be interested, but your customers are somewhere else.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking you this question, because a lot of time, so there is no one size fit all, but there should be some eligibility criteria or what? Because a lot of startups, they have an amazing product, and they don't know that they can sell the product to different markets.
Yeah.
So would they come to you at the right time that okay, we have an amazing product, we have local customer, or maybe they don't have the local customer, but they have a ready product that they can sell to any market in the world.
Right.
So would you means EDC can help them with the market research or finding their buyers? Because these are the questions I always get. So that's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, I'll start with and I hadn't, answered that, but export readiness. So export readiness has, comes with really different points. So the first is obviously market research. You need to understand which markets you're going into, your competitive landscape, or who you are playing against. Do you have operational capabilities? If you have a big contract right now, today, are you going to be able to fulfill it, right? Or execute on your contract? Do you have, employee training capabilities in-house, or do you need to outsource? Do you meet your financial and regulatory legal requirements? Do you have all of it? So, and the next is really obviously technology, tools and instruments in-house. There's so many aspects that you need to look into, but I think that in terms, let's say that you have everything, and because, EDC is a trade finance entity, let's say you have everything but the financing, and you come to us only when you get your contract, because obviously they tell you go after your clients and then come to see the bank, right? It's almost too late. You should have come earlier. Because when you were getting ready for your market, you should have come earlier, talk to us, or at least have your partner, your banking partner, and depends on how much revenue you're generating, but have your banking partner know that you're looking at potentially other market and connecting with us to see how do I meet your eligibility criteria or your criteria to get access to financing. Because again, the struggle that I see oftentimes comes in where you're like, oh my gosh, I have my PO right now and I need to deliver in a couple of months from now. And I need to get my letter of credit or my guarantee. I need to get cash flow running. Too late. Because we will take time. And things take time, right? You don't just, unless you're very rich, you're not going to the bank and they're like, yep, here you go. No, so it takes a lot of, you need to think about that prior,
And that's again the tricky question, when prior. So so now you know that we are taking startups to different parts of the world. And interestingly, it's self-financed, self-funded. So so if a startup is spending $10,000 to explore a different market, so where comes EDC? I'm sorry, I'm asking you difficult question. So where comes EDC, enter? Where you guys can help them? They're already spending money to go somewhere. They see the potential. They are seeing that there is a market for them. They have a product that people are willing to pay for it. But again, how they can go there, because again, they have no experience, and here comes the money. So they have the purchase orders. People are willing to pay, but they don't know whether how they can get the money here. There are so many ifs and buts.
Right.
So
the first step is go speak with your bank. The first step.
Okay.
The first step, go talk to your banker. Second, if you have the PO, your banker will tell us, hey, guys, because we don't have trade, jurisdiction. So do you have some products that can help us take on the risk with this client? So, with our different products like, credit insurance that would insure your sales against default of payments. Then you have some guarantees that we can provide your bank with to protect them against their risk of non-payment they're taking with you. So there are different products, but the first step, go talk to your bank. And if you're not sure or you don't have a specific relationship with your bank, then bounce back to us and we'll help direct you to the right bank that could help you right now at the moment.
So again, with my experience, I'm sorry. So here in Canada, what I see that, we talk to Trade Commission Services, we talk to EDC, BDC. You have to fit in a box. I'm sorry, but this is how it works, that you have to fit in a box, tick all the check boxes. And we are living in a very different world. We see startups with just one founder making millions and billions. And again, we have to have certain employees. We don't need employees. I'm not saying that we don't need employees, but the founder is wearing multiple hats, and we are talking about AI. So ChatGPT is doing work of like 5 people. So how these startups, and most of the time these startups are thinking we go to EDC or any organization, support organization, we get into that bureaucracy, red tapeism, we are wasting our time. So how we can make it more efficient? So do we have any list of things, the structure? So if, for example, if I have a product, I'm going to Dubai or anywhere, and I see that, okay, I can find some interesting buyers. So what should I do, or talk to you or anywhere who can guide me? Okay, these are the 5 steps that you should take before you go to any new market. I apologize.
I'm thinking about it. So I've seen very different situations. When you say, I need to tick all of the boxes, yes, you're right. We live in a system that you're gonna be boxed in. You're definitely gonna be boxed in, especially for startups. It is tough. And what I'll say is that, looking at the landscape of entrepreneurship in Canada, knowing that even if, 23%, close to 24% of, businesses are immigrant-owned, for instance, and they're just adjusting to this new system and learning the new ways. Number one is really relationship building. I know it's ridiculous to say this because we're talking about, numbers, but it all boils down to relationship building. Really. And that, regardless of, I've met all of these requirements, but you have, for instance, your banker or an investor that is backing you. And I've had, examples of, hey, they've been around, all the banks, and they said, nope, 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 closed doors. And then you have one investor that says, oh my God, I love your product. I love what you're trying to do, what you're trying to fix, what you're trying to help. I'm gonna back you, and then all of the doors open.
So, Miriam, again, I'm sorry, but yeah, so relationship building is expensive. It costs you money.
It costs you time. It costs you a lot of time and a lot of money, knowing that most of business startups are bootstraps. I agree. But it's your best currency. It's your best currency. Obviously, you need to meet, you need to have your financial statements ready. You need to communicate them with your bank, with EDC as well. We need to see your projections. We'll need to understand how you get into your market. Everything else, it's like it's a taken. What's not a choice is the relationship building.
Okay, yeah, definitely it works. So me as a newcomer to Canada, so yeah, but another thing, a lot of immigrant founders, what I see is are really shy. We keep pushing them. That's why we are doing this AGAZ summit also, because we want them to come here, talk to people, make relationships with the people. So if everything is ideal, so the founder has money in the bank, he has a bank account, he has a ready product, and he wants to go, and he has maybe a purchase order also. So they come to you, they first talk to the bank, then they come to you.
Absolutely.
And what I have seen and read also that, Trade Commissioner Services and EDC, they work together. Is it right, or is it a myth?
We're part of Team Canada, so meaning that, if TCS, we're partners basically. TCS tells us that, there's a customer that they've been, on a trade mission with, and this customer is right and ready for EDC, absolutely, they'll refer them to us, and vice versa. We refer a lot of folks that we cannot support because EDC does not provide grants or subsidies, saying this, loud and clear for people in the back as well. No grants, no subsidies. But TCS does. They have the Can Export for ASME program, they have the Can Export Association program, and they do run trade missions, which is something that we do very rarely and very niched for some of our customers and for companies that are ready. But again, we're right now looking at more mature businesses to introduce to those multinationals because we've seen some failures in the past, so we're trying to learn from our mistakes as well.
Thank you, Miriam. So here comes my next question. So a lot of people in this room may have never contacted Trade Commissioner Services or never contacted EDC. So from after today, if they are willing to contact EDC or Trade Commissioner Services, and I would like to share with every one of you that relationships really works. Even for the delegation that Trade Commissioner is taking, most of the time they take those companies who they have a prior relationship. So Trade Commissioner Services, they have a website. Anyone can go there, apply for, register themselves. You shouldn't be in the system. That is very important. Honestly, a lot of people keep asking me how I am able to do all of this that I'm doing. One thing is that I'm very proactive, and I never sleep. So I am very curious also. So when I came to Canada and I tried to understand the ecosystem, I went to all these websites, Export Development Canada, Trade Commissioner Services, that what they need and how we are eligible for all these things. So anyone who would like to do business with Canada, we have Canada Procurement, but at the same time, anyone who would like to sell their product and services outside Canada, they should come to Export Development Canada. Please, Miriam.
Yeah, so definitely TCS, Trade Commissioner Service, Export Development Canada, but I will mention another one, industry-led associations. They are gold mines as well. Don't just focus on just the exporting agencies of Canada, but those sector-led or industry-led associations, organizations, they do run their own trade missions. Yeah. They do have their own networks. They have also, customers they could introduce you to. So don't shy away from going into there. Yes, it might look intimidating at first, but if you are a part of the same, sectorial network, you might be able to, build some very sensitive and critical relationship for you, helping you in your future growth.
Thank you, Miriam. And just one last thing, because you are the national lead. And thank you so much for answering all the questions so positively. So I understand that EDC has, emphasized on diversity, and we have a lot of immigrant founders and women in the room. So do they have, just like Greg shared that, our disadvantage is advantage. So is there any program or any support for underrepresented founders or racialized communities from EDC?
So we do have a team which I am part of, and I have the director of small business and inclusive trade team as well here in the room, Jennifer Cook. So we do have some programs that we work or that we develop with partners like CSA or industry-led association, again, across Canada, and we're also looking at opportunities outside. So those programs are really for us to, again, raise awareness of what exists, because typically, information is key. Right? So if you don't have the right information, even access to the network, you wouldn't know. So we provide some workshops. We also provide access to information. We open doors to potential partnerships. We are a little bit limited. Obviously, we're a very small but mighty team. But, we try to socialize the information as much as possible and disseminate the right information and also redirect as much as possible, because it's not about keeping that for ourselves. It's about sharing it with the entire Canada and also pointing opportunities that exist outside.
Perfect, thank you. So my last question for you is, so I have been asking you what EDC does, but we as founders and entrepreneurs, how can we do better? Because definitely what we believe is that, I will say this give and take. So we cannot always rely on depending on government and organizations like yours. We need to step up. We need to take the action. So as a founder who is getting ready for first time to export, how we as founders and startups and entrepreneurs can do better as a collective action for everyone?
So I'll say first something. Most startups or small businesses are opportunistic in their approach to trade. Right? So export, again, and I was mentioning that to someone here, they go to trade shows, they meet someone, and they're like, oh my gosh, there's opportunity for us to have a contract. No, they should know ahead in time, really ahead of even, going to those places, who are our customers? And once they know, start putting a strategy around that. So financing, capabilities, operational, everything, tech, everything else, and share that with your bank, your partners, the people. Even if you want to raise equity, then share that with some, folks, accelerators that are around you. I know there's always, that mistrust of, oh my gosh, I'm going to share my, trade secret, my baby, with someone else. But if you don't share, you're not going to have support. You're not going to find anything else. You're going to be alone on your island, and you're going to die there. So really, it's about, again, relationship building, strategizing a lot, talking to your banker until we have found, well, no, there exists some, alternative financing models, but until they are very more expanded and more, fully developed and embedded in the system, then again, we will need to rely on traditional, financing and traditional lenders. But it's really about the strategy and how you build. One last piece is, don't go to the bank when you have a problem. Go to the bank when you're super happy, when everything is working, when your belly is full, your pockets are full, and you're just saying, I'm going to the bank, let's get a line of credit. Don't go to the bank when you have a problem, because bankers, they hate folks who have problems. You are a liability that they don't want to, keep in-house.
Thank you, Mary. So any questions from the audience?
It was crystal clear.
Thank you so much, everyone, for listening us, and thank you, Miriam, for taking that questions so positively. So, we will be definitely keep bothering you, keep coming to you, because we need to take action, and we are taking these startups across the borders. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shamina. Thank you, everyone.
You know, this is a classic example of you don't know what you don't know. Sorry. Sorry, we're just kind of reassessing and reorganizing because of the time. But it's nice to know that organizations like Export Development Canada are here to tell us about who they are and what they do and how they support us. Because if you don't know they exist, then that's a big hole in the wall kind of thing. So do approach them if you have questions, concerns. Even if you don't understand something or if you don't know something, like she said, Miriam mentioned going to your bank, starting with them. But I'm really impressed that they're here, that we can sound things off them. So thank you for paying attention to that. So our next speaker, and just to give you guys a heads up in terms of timing, we're hoping to break for lunch around 1 o'clock. And I'll make that announcement just shortly after the next presentation. The next presenter is going to be Naila Kazi. Some of you may have known her from previous workshops that she's conducted with the Canada Startup Association. She's here. She is a package of dynamite. She's loud. She's mighty, but small but mighty, as they say. She is an expert in leading startups to manage change, their structures and technology, leadership, and teams so that they can sustain and grow. So she's going to be leading us through a workshop to do with building. Here she comes, taking her time. My thoughts and prayers are with you all at this time. Here's Naila Kazi. Try this one and see if this one's better. Is this one better? Yes.
Yeah, got it. Thank you. I know Doreen has, oh wow, it made such a difference. She has like good personality, good voice. My name is Naila, as kind of it says up there. When I was just sending my bio and my shot, like the headshot, so I sent that picture, and Tamina was joking that you sent us your prom picture, like when you were like almost 10 years ago or 20 years ago, and honestly, it's not very old, only 2 or 3 years old. So I tried to fit in the same jacket, and it fitted. A little bit tight. I'm breathing in, but that's okay. All right, so this segment is extremely important. It's very fun as well. It's also very meaningful and insightful as well. And last time, who was here last time? All right, so it was amazing. We got great feedback, so we are building upon what went really well last time, and we took out that part which did not work very well. But I'm not going to go and start unless I have everybody in the hall. This segment will not work until the real stakeholders are in the room. So please don't leave the room, because if you leave the room, this segment get longer. That means the time between you and food becomes longer as well. So you cannot get to the lunch until we finish this. So let me go out and get everyone in. All right. You can check, text your emails or whatever. You have like a couple of minutes to check. I wanted everyone to be in. I wanted everyone to be in. Please leave your stalls. Everyone has to be inside. I'm really asking everyone to come in. Otherwise, lunch is not going to be served. Everyone has to be in. I would really request you to role model, and everyone has to be in. Thank you so much. Mudassir, right? Yeah, thank you. Everyone inside. Yeah. Can you please go inside? No. All right, we have to have everybody in. We're not going to start. Guys, I am the only barrier between you and your lunch. So please come inside. Everyone has to be in. This segment is all about you. Can I have everyone in, please? No one is going to do anything. Everyone has to be in. All right, can I request everyone inside? Tamina, I want not a single soul in this hall. Everyone has to be invited inside. You're going to love it, guys. Come on in, inside. All right. Do we have Tamina in the room or no? Hamad, are you in the room, please? My friend Dinesh, you're in. We have lots of networking over lunch, sir, and after lunch, so can we just come in right now? Could we bring those people in? Could we all come in? Doreen, can I invite you in, please? All right, looks like, have a seat anywhere, like, this is my seat, empty, have a seat, right. Awesome, it looks like we have some people still outside. Let's take a deep breath because you have been sitting since this morning. I did a lot of work meetings, so I'm as exhausted as you are. Take any seat anywhere. We're here just for this little segment, 1 hour. Your lunch is being prepared, being kind of laid out. Those guys who are standing up there, because it's a little bit group talk, so I really want you to join any group. Any table, ideally don't sit with people you came with or people you already got yourself introduced with, because that's not what we're going to do. All right. I think still there is almost 20 people in the hall. They will not come. All right, so have a seat, please. Yeah. All right, so I would start with my question one. Or should I give a little bit of my bio? I'll take 1 minute. How many people would like to be bored with the bio of the speaker, because it was already in there? All right, just a few people, hands up. All right, I'll take, because you're right in front, I'll take whatever you say. Naila Kazi, as it says up there. I help startups. I have a corporate side of my life, but I also have a startup side of myself as well. So what I'm going to talk, or what I'm going to walk you through, is not just the words. I have walked the talk, and I know how lonely, how painful, how some days you are up as a startup and some days you are down. It's kind of that roller coaster. I go through that as well, along with you, some of you who are either successful or just coming up with the idea. It works, it's the same for everybody. So what I'm going to share with you is my own story, corporate side, almost 20 years, large global organizations. The enterprise side, on the other hand, is startup side. And I realized the pains, lack of structures, the right kind of technology, lack of workflows, where things break down. We just put a ladder on top and we move forward. We did not kind of remove that banana peel, because the next person coming in is going to slip. We don't do that work. We just do Band-Aid, regardless we are as a business or as a corporate. We do the same thing. So I have seen both sides, and that's why I love this segment, which we have planned for you today. All right, so here is one quick question, and 2 people are not allowed to participate in this competition because there is a prize, there is a gift after this competition. And those 2 are my friends, Hamad Siddiqui and Dinesh Sharma. They will not participate. And it's not that I don't like them, they're very close to my heart. My question is, how many of you have read our September released economic policy? How many of you? Any hand up? We have a gift for the one who has read it. How many of you have read it? The 2 guys I said they cannot participate, I know they must have read it in each language, Korean, Japanese, English, French, whatever. Like they have read it like back to front or whatever we say it. No one else has seen it? This affects you. This is your voice. And that policy has a gap which we're going to talk about today. Don't chat GPT right now. There is a time when I'll ask you. Yeah? You will read it later? All right, that is good intention. read it later, but we have not read it. So, and that's so important because this is how you're the real stakeholder. You are the guys who should be reading that policy. You're the guys who would be critiquing your policy. So today what we're going to do, we are going to go through 3 very important questions, and we would go one by one to each one of those, and you on your table would discuss. We are going to come around, gather whatever you have, your thoughts from the table. We type them, build dashboard or patterns, and pass it on to our mayoral office here, and then hopefully the voice gets heard further. So this is very, very important part. Last time we did it, we took those key takeaways, they were passed it on, and there were certain impacts we could share in the follow-up emails, right? Is that clear about this segment, why I think it's so important? Because you really have to think about it, and the reason I wanted everyone from outside to come inside, because those stalls is just a limited window of demonstrating that who you are, but your thought on the paper is really a bigger picture in which you have to install yourself, embed yourself, and you really have to have your voice. Do we agree with that? Do we agree with voices to be heard? Do we have voice or no? What's the purpose? Like, are you just thinking about a shop front and making money, or you have a purpose behind your startup? Because trust me, there's no success unless you have a purpose. So do we agree with that? If we agree, give me 3 big taps on the table, everybody. 1, 2, 3. That was not good enough. That means your purpose is so weak. Okay, let's do it again. 3 taps. Yeah, there is no rhythm, right? So let's build some rhythm. I'll say 1, 2, 3, and you have to do it at one time. Show me your hand, right or left, whatever. It should be on the table. You know how we send those annoying and angry emails and we just press hit? This is what you have to do. Get angry, get real kind of real anger. Okay. 1, 2, 3. We have a voice. All right, give me one more big one. 1, 2, 3. Wow, yeah, we have a voice, right? So I would like to really give a very brief synopsis of the policy. Go back home and read it. Please don't do ChatGPT right now. No phone. You can take my picture and post on your social. That is perfectly fine. There is almost $1 billion. Hamad, is that right? Almost $1 billion in the policy, which is for startup. And don't get kind of fooled by that. It says the word startup. But when you actually come into the risks, access to finance, procurement, logistics, who is the person you need to know in the industry, it's not clear about it. There is a gap, there's big critique on it. Go Google it, search it, and you will find out that those organizations which are already in the ecosystem, they can take big advantage, big dollar amount out of that 1 billion. But if you are starting up, you have your MVP, there are loopholes. And that's what you have to kind of give your feedback, all right? So with that, we talk about our question 1. So this question 1 would be 15 minutes. We'll time it. You have to discuss on your team, then we can ask a couple of the tables to debrief it. Can we bring out question 1? This is about the policy. That does not mean you have to go right now and read the policy, okay? So question 1 says, how can government policy, I know it looks hard, but I have given a little prompt underneath, which I generated from ChatGPT. It says, how can government policy better tailor support for early stage startups beyond what's offered to SMEs at large? So again, I'm saying, in the policy, there is an offer for SMEs at large, but what about early startups? That is a gap, right? Say, for example, you could discuss on your table what kind of regulation, financial, or tax instruments specifically for seed and early growth stages are needed. How can access to capital, mentorship, commercialization supports, and scaling up Like, do you have help in all those things? Which areas you think are so important for your startup? All right? So with that, we would leave you to first think, reflect, and then go on to your group discussion. Doreen, can we start the timer now? All right, yes, sir. Uh, Thank you so much. I love that structure. Someone can take the notes, everyone discusses, everyone speaks on the table, and then that someone or anyone else can debrief, all right? So you already identify who the leader is, who would be giving debrief. Don't identify yourself that I am the leader. Ask your team who is the leader. All right, our time starts now. 10? Yeah, 10 minutes. All right, go ahead, guys. Hurry up quick. Start talking. You have a voice. We need your voice. Taking notes? Start talking. Are you guys talking about some personal issues or it's about policy? Because we have a doctor on the table. No, he can't win. He is allowed to talk. But since we have a doctor on the table, I don't want personal health issues. All right. Is the discussion happening here? Hey. Hi. This talk is happening? No, yeah. So we don't need to know the policy. Think about your problems, your issues. Like what kind of issues? Sabine, hi, how are you? So if you haven't read the policy, that's fine. Think about your business and what kind of issues you face. Are you still looking for the policy? It's 19 pages. You won't be able to do that. Yeah. You think about your own business and what kind of challenges you face as a startup or early stage business. You don't need to know the policy. Yeah. That's the discussion we want to have, right? So if you have not read the policy, some tables have concern. We don't want you to read the policy. We want you to actually discuss your actual issues, what they are. There could be regulation, there could be access to finance. There could be, we don't know where to go because government websites are too, I never can, they're hard to navigate, right? Maybe that's the starting point. So just write down. First, did you identify a leader? You could be leader. You will see that's the true startup spirit, right? Yeah. All right. So this question does not require you to read the policy. You just discuss your own issues, what you have, what your business have. It's the financial policy which came out in September. It's called economic policy. But you don't need to Google it right now. Yeah. But tariff could be included. Like what's real life issues we are going through that. Yeah, yeah. All right. You're looking through the policy? You reading the policy right now? Okay. Are you discussing personal issues or question or startup? Yeah. That is so, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. You reading the policy? Okay. Yeah, that's fine. All right, guys, you have 1 more minute to wrap up. 1 more minute, one last minute to wrap up your convo. Wow. All right, one last minute. You can take a seat here or on that side, yeah. All right, let's pick some tables to debrief. Who would like to go first? All right. At 1, 2, 3, we have to be quiet. Pens down. Complete silence so we can respect those who are sharing their thoughts. All right, pens down, guys. Absolutely listening. All right, we have done our thoughts. Quiet, please quiet. We have to respect those who are ready to share. Like some tables are still sharing lots of pictures and maybe business opportunities, networking. And that will happen over lunch and all. Or quiet, complete silence. We have to respect those who are ready to share, all right? Which table wants to go first? All right, now, okay, you have a mouth on your table? All right, we can go down that path a little bit later. All right, that last table, gentlemen, please introduce yourself. And your business as well, and your ideas. Please stand up.
I don't understand. Oh, this is awkward. Hey, everybody, how's it going? My name's Jerome McGamby, founder of Open Up. So it's a platform for high performers, athletes, entrepreneurs, and executives to get mental wellness support. So at our table, one of the main things that we talked about was early stage funding in Canada, some tax incentives and breaks for those early stage startups in terms of just like revenue and what we're eligible for. Access to capital was a common theme where people are just like, hey, like for early stage startups, we don't really meet the requirements for the government programs because we're pre-revenue most of the time. Retaining IP in Canada, so keeping the ideas here, and also retaining Canadian client or talent. Yeah, those were the main things we talked about on our table.
These are the main points? All right, how many tables agree with what my friend said there? Almost all of us, right? Absolutely, thank you. Give him a big hand, guys. Like, it takes courage to be the first one to share, right? All right, second table. We will have 2 more tables to share, and then we kind of go on to the next question. Otherwise, Doreen is not letting kitchen to open the lunch for us. All right, second, yes, miss?
I'll keep it short and sweet.
But please introduce your name and your business.
Sure, Cynthia N.A. with Coral. First thing was financing and funding. I won't say too much because you said it mostly, but we talked about inclusive financial instruments because some people with their religious beliefs can't access typical lending from banks. So we talk about financing and funding. Second is tax breaks for angels or new tax accommodations that are founder and startup friendly. Imagine if investors and angels got some kind of tax incentive to invest in the startup ecosystem. It would be phenomenal. It would blossom something. Apart from financing, tax, we talked about regulations. That it's very difficult from one province to another in certain sectors like health and business. It's like, once you leave one province and go to another, the regulations are like a beast. So we need to simplify regulation. And also every government department is so siloed. When you're starting up as a founder, there's SHRED here, there's this funding there, there's that over there. Whereas there's no one portal place you can go to or engage someone that could help you, give you an overall package of tools that are available to you, tailored to you. And there's AI tools. They could build something like that. So you're not running around trying to decode the government. And then fourth, which is not least, is cash is king. The federal government and PSPC and every procurement body within the federal government should buy from startups, should prioritize, because if we get cash, if we get contracts and deals,
Give her
we'll
a big
do
round
well.
of applause, guys. I think stand up for this one. I think stand up for this one. Everybody, because we want to buy Canadian. We proud Canadians, right? For Canadians. Absolutely. Excellent point. And I think you touched on something even that didn't occur to me when we were planning these questions. The inclusivity based on being certain religious groups or certain religious minorities. I'm not talking about skin, ethnicity, and all those things. I'm talking about your beliefs, and you sometimes get punished for that as well. That was such an amazing point, which no one raises. I kind of have been to several places where we discussed those gaps, but that never came across. So thank you for your enlightenment to the friend next sitting to you. Or you stand up and introduce yourself. Ma'am, that was your idea? Yeah. And your business?
Hi, my name is Sakina Mihar. I'm the founder of Saven. So we provide digital mental health services using neuroscience. So I struggle with the inclusive instruments for financing, and it's throughout pervasive federal at all levels, and also when we do go for fundraising, angel rounds are fine, safe is fine, but even, what's the other instrument? I forget. Yeah, you know, if we can have some different methods and instruments that are not interest-bearing, that would be great. Like even for investors, if there are investors here, to think about alternatives. I know a lot of them don't like safes, but something that's revenue sharing.
That can help that religious approach, right?
Yeah.
So that means more diversity, more inclusivity.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Round of applause for the lady, right? All right. You all follow Tony Robbins, right? The only difference is I am a shorter woman, very high heels. Each time he goes applause, people go stand up and dance applauding. I am begging you applause, and you are just doing this one. Why is that? I'm Canadian. I'm Canadian, right? And you can't give it to me, guys, and we're talking about buy Canada, do Canada. Give me a big one. Give me a big one, right? Yeah, absolutely. And why Tony Robbins does it, I have been personally in touch I personally have attended some of his workshops, and my friend who does specializes in neuroscience would agree with me that when you clap your hands, certain kind of oxytocin and other kind of good hormones are generated. Otherwise, clapping traditionally would have been out of our culture. The reason that centuries we still clap, that means it has some mental value. So you are doing it for your own good, for your own neuroplasticity, not for me, okay? All right. Now, one of my friends who is really, really kind of motivated to have his ideas, I'll have him at the last person. And yes, stand up, sir, and your name, your business, and then very brief so we can move on to the next question.
Okay, my name is Kevin YB. I actually support small businesses, and I'm also supporting People's Collective. Amy, she's not here today. Thanks to her, that's why I'm here also. And really, when it comes to startups and small businesses, one of the challenges, and I was discussing with my colleagues here, has to do with even opening a bank account. He said a lot of startups have challenges, even just opening a bank account. And most of the time when you're a startup immigrant, that becomes a huge challenge. Now, you talked about funding, but one of the challenges about funding is that the government funding, I don't know how many of us as startups are aware of the funding and where you can find them. And the kind of conversation we're having was that, are these funding, sort of segmented into sectors? You want to know that, are they fundings for tech, for example? Are they fundings for health? Are they fundings for agriculture? So those are kind of the conversations we're having around that. More awareness where startups can actually get funding, and government actually, not just in the website, but bringing it out and actually companies can know, most of the startups, where they can find this funding is very important. And also startups having this form of collaboration like what we are doing right now, because a lot of startups don't know where to get the right information from. I think that is also a barrier. Thank you very much. Yeah.
All right. I have someone at the end. Please, my friend, could you take the mic there? They want you to add on to the statement.
Thank you so much. Thank you. My name is Mazina Rafi. I don't have any business yet, but I am in the very, very initial stages of starting my own organization. The other day, I was talking to a friend, and my good friend, Dinesh. He invited me to attend this organization, and the name, Canada Startup Association, attracted me. And when I came here, I found the name on the list of speakers, a very passionate speaker, my friend, another friend, Naila Kazi. So I'm here to learn a lot.
That was for me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
From
Thank you
everyone.
So
You're not my friend, Naila?
Yeah, I love you, Mazina, but what's the point, like, with regards to the policy?
Okay, policies, I want to explore about the funding, grants, what's happening, how can I get into it,
Absolutely.
and what will be the best option for me.
It's
Thank you.
great for I think 99% of people in this hall. They will go back and read it. Maybe ask ChatGPT, give me 5 main points, right? If you don't have time. But still, you can learn about it. We had 3 questions, but they kind of built upon each other. I think you already have great, meaningful discussions, I hope. Some of the tables have doctors. I think the discussions were not about personal health. It was about policy. But regardless, however you could build connections, we are skipping one question, and we're going on to question number 3. My clicker person who is at the back, could we bring up question 3? If you can't read it, I'll read it out for you. How should government decision, for example, procurement policy, public sector contracting, to include and boost startup innovation? And you can discuss, for example, Buy Canada. I know it's very easy to say Buy Canada. I was listening to an RBC Women panel where, like, it opened my eyes to, like, it's easy to say, we can get very emotional, but how many barriers are in the way? So Buy Canada is how to ensure that startups can compete in those procurement processes, how to structure criteria, risk, contracting terms, etc., to give startups fair access. I think this is very much focused on product-based startups. I have a friend, she makes handbags out of Halifax, and she makes this amazing product, and tariffs are kind of ruining her business. And I said, how come? Like, you make handbags, they are all kind of off the shelf, like Amazon we buy. She said, but her bags have like seal made in Canada, and that is, I don't know, whatever the policy is around tariffs, it's really destroying her business. And she spent all her sweat equity, whatever she has, her house and everything in that business, and it's now struggling only because this has come straight from someone who's working off Halifax, and she says, Buy Canada is very emotional and motivational, but are we clearing the road for that? People who want to sell in Canada, buy Canada, are you making procurement easy for them? The policy does not discuss that. So that's one of the gaps. So each one of you, just wear your hat that if it's only Buy Canada, how your business is going to benefit or how your business is going to be impacted. I know someone, the women panel I heard, this woman makes sportswear which are made in Canada, and she says her business is thriving 3 times they expected. Why? Because everyone is buying Canadian-made sportswear. So for some businesses, it's kind of that side, but for some businesses, is my friend who's making handbags, and tariffs are in some way destroying her. It could be many reasons. I would not say that. You have your own business. You know where your ingredients come from. And how do you think policy could address that? Because this is one of the gaps in the policy. All right? So can we say 10, 15 minutes? But please focus, discussion, same rules apply. You have a leader, someone would kind of stand up and talk about it. Give us like good nuggets because we have to collect all this from the paper. Don't type in your own laptops because we need the data so we can turn it into something meaningful for you, all right? So with that, our time starts. All right, we have 3 more minutes to wind up. Sorry, 2 more minutes to wind up, please. Is the time marker? 2 more minutes to wind up. Almost 1.5, and then we would wind up this conversation. I'm sure you have leaders on the table. You have your thoughts on the table for us to collect. And guys, remember, this is all for by Canadian, and based on your business, how it's going to impact, how is already impacting you, or are you thriving? I think that's where we want to go with that. All right, guys, have a seat, please. Where is my mic runner, my friend? Yeah. All right. Let's close the last thought. All right, my dear table, like this one, could we just have it down? Why I say I don't want to be school master, head drill master, it just shows respect that people who are ready to share, that you are 100% listening to them. So can we have just a quiet room, please? Could we just have a quiet room? Because people are ready to share their experiences. All right, so remember, your leader on the table, whoever chooses to stand up, your name, your business, what you do, and then by Canadian, is it posing some problems for you, or is it supporting your business? Are you thriving, or there are roadblocks for you? What do you think? Forget about the policy, okay? All right, which table is going to go first? I have choose the most good-looking table. The one, this one? No, you guys already, oh, you said then it's us, if it's good-looking? No, I'll go with the gentleman there, already hand up. Go ahead, please, yeah.
All right, hi everyone, this is Igor Shugin, co-founder of the Drone Ship.
Sorry, could you just let us know what your name is?
Yeah.
Slow down a little bit.
Oh, my name is Igor, Igor Chigrin.
Igor, yeah, and what kind of work you do, Igor? What's your...
I'm with a startup called the Drone Ship. We develop cargo drones.
All right, awesome.
So
all right.
That's very appealing topic, especially for my startup. But our first point was simplifying the paperwork.
Yeah.
Because it takes you have to read through hundreds of pages of RFPs before even figuring out if that's for you, if this procurement is for you at all. Second thing we discussed was some sort of predictability in decision-making timelines.
Yeah.
The third one were payment terms that could be, like someone on our at our table told up to 90 days. And also some sort of financing, purchase order financing, that could help companies to breach the cash flow gap over this 90 days. And last point that we have is, it's a kind of elaboration of Dr. Ahmed's point of having your customers pay for your product development. We approached it the same fashion that the government could, engage Canadian startups at the early stage in developing solutions that they need. Right? For example, we know that some of the Department of National Defense has those.
Yeah.
But if we can broaden this to all other sectors, right, and procure Canadian, say, technology solutions, AI solutions, aerospace solutions, but at the early stage, and develop those solutions per specification of the government. That'd be fantastic.
Absolutely. And how many of us agree with what Igor's beautiful table has identified the issues? Do we do that? And do you agree with me, like I picked the most handsome looking table? Over there? Oh, there was not you there, it was them, all right. Okay, so who is next? Like we need one more table, and then we move forward. I'll go there. Their hand was up. All right, go ahead, yeah. Yes, go ahead. Your name, sir, and what you do, and then.
Sure. Brent Edwards, Brent Canada Experiences. I help newcomer business owners with professional networking. So our team was discussing the question. We talked about the need for like a single portal which everyone could access that would provide information on procurement opportunities. There are some tools that exist as any public procurement, whether it's federal, provincial, municipal, needs to provide access to. Couple other suggestions. There's actually a conference occurring October 22nd called Source Canada. Not sure if anyone is going to it. It is specifically for tech entrepreneurs, Canadian tech entrepreneurs who are selling into the Canadian ecosystem. It's the first time they've had a conference like this.
Absolutely.
And I would expect that CSA should make sure that there is a representative at that event.
Yeah. And in terms of business, what your table kind of discussed,
Yep.
Who is thriving and who thinks that for their business there are roadblocks?
Yeah. So I guess
that buy Canadian spirit which we all have.
Yeah. So I think just kind of summarizing, there are some challenges in terms of the buy Canadian and what it means. We had people at the table talking about buying local and what does that mean in terms of Canadian inputs. I think I'll just share from my experience working with the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. We were looking at doing a Buy Canadian initiative. However, when you start getting into what is actually Canadian, what the components are, was it manufactured here, is it distributed here, it can get very complicated. So it's not as simple
as it seems,
It's not as simple
right?
as it
Absolutely.
seems. So what we looked to do was focus on buying local. But again, that was the Ontario Chamber. It's a challenge if you've got a company in Vancouver that is producing a product. Why should we in Ontario not consider that
Even impacted the same way, right?
Exactly.
And
exactly.
who went to, before the election happened in Ontario, to Doug Ford's big event by Mississauga Board of Trade and Chamber of Commerce? It happened in Hilton here in Mississauga. So that was the first time he came up with an axe, like really held an axe in his hand. You may have seen it on socials. And he said he cut tariff with his axe, like on the stage, kind of their word tariff and all. But that was very educational of Doug Ford, of me, because buy local, buy Ontarian, or buy Canadian, or buy Vancouver or West Coast, they are all different things. I definitely agree with you, and it really impacts everyone in a different way. So
I have just one more quick point to make. The discussions we're having in terms of buying Canadian and the startup community within Indigenous communities across Canada,
absolutely,
there's a lot of similar conversations about having procurement at the government levels, a certain amount being allocated to Indigenous procurement. And a lot of the Indigenous organizations, which we worked with in my previous role, are moving ahead. So this is not the only community that sees procurement as a way to bring prosperity.
As a challenge, absolutely. Thank you so much. Like round of applause, guys, right? Absolutely. Very, very important points, very good points. And then the real handsome, good-looking table, Doreen, stand up, right? Oh, yeah, finally this table, yeah.
Certainly, yeah. So my name is John Edward McGraw. Yes, that's a good idea. I'll do that. Well, thank you. Thank you, yes. So I'm the founder of Hiaku Coaching. So I help leaders and businesses turn cultural differences into strategic advantages. And our points, I may get them wrong, so hopefully get help from my table as well. But one of the points, we had a few. So the first one, as I recall, one issue with procurement seems to be that you have to know someone who's already in the system to get anywhere. So if you're just starting up, where do you go? What do you do? So in that case, mentoring is one situation. You can mentor with someone that they'll have a matching system, right, to bring them in. Hey, here's someone who can bring you through the system as well. And then you had some points about the financing, I think, as well. There was the board. Right. We're going to do it as a team effort. A team effort. All right.
Thank you.
So my name is Doreen Fernandez, and as you all know, I'm the MC for today's summit. I run a small business. I do a couple of things. I'm a legacy writer, and I'm also a career coach, a facilitator, and trainer. So my thought is, because I used to work with the top 4 banks in Canada, and I have the scars to prove it, is having founders, the founders of your board, be actual, the board members be actual startup founders. So if they want to know what the pain point is, you're going directly to the source. So when you state what your pain is, then you solve the pain. So who better to have on the board than actual founders of businesses?
Yeah, thank you. And so my name is Jakub. I'm the founder of an IT company, a newcomer to Canada, just arrived in 24 January. So these two are... Yeah, thank you.
Having the center stage.
Yes, thank you. Thanks to Naila. So another point we talked about is marketing. As startups, we do struggle a lot. I think we do a lot with the platforms we have. So LinkedIn, Facebook, probably Instagram. But one thing I've noticed here, you know when you drive by a plaza and you see the directory, so you see companies in that directory from that plaza. Which companies do you see, or which business do you see usually on those directories? Usually big retail, so Canadian Tire, Walmart. The small business is never there. So my wife and I are thinking about it, and then we thought, what if each plaza, if everywhere, like, I don't know, in Canada, they should put the startups in that plaza. But then she said, what they want to attract people to this plaza, this is why they put the big names. So finally we came up with, what if there are some slots for startups there and rotated? So every couple of days, that plaza should put that name of that startup or group of startups. And I think that could be even, you know, like radio. If we think about radio, we drive and listen to the radio, and it's usually either big companies or you have to pay for that. As startups, again, what if we get a chance to get marketed, you know, by, you know, radio, directories, TV, whatever? So hopefully that would help a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And welcome to Canada. Right. Thank you, John. Thanks a lot. You and I do the same work, but you were very good with your introduction. I think you're going to get lots of people impressed by your skills today, right? All right, guys, so we are very much to the close of this segment. Each one of you give yourself a big round of applause. Each one of the table did amazing job. That was, the competition criteria was not which table looks the best. I think that was just each one of us can qualify on that criteria if we self-score ourselves, right? Okay, so before we close, once again, my name is Naila. You want to connect with me, you want to kind of find out more about me, LinkedIn is the only place I live and I'm very active. I'm very happy. We do 99% of our work is pro bono. That means we don't charge for that, so most welcome. We run Women of Impact program, female only. We run change management program, which is SEC and ISO accredited. That means we teach your organization, B2B or B2C, how to manage change, because we are in the change right now. And again, it's pro bono, because that's my profession. I like to kind of move it, give it as a legacy. So you can assign yourself, your team. It's all virtual over the weekend, so it doesn't come into your workday. So I would just take 2 minutes of your attention, your respect for being silent and quiet. I really, really appreciate it. I'm going to invite someone on the stage. I'll go on the stage. Last time I tried to get onto the stage and there was a wire in my way, so I have to do 360-degree handstand and stand up again. So this time I wore like very big heels, but also made in Canada. So they're careful, yeah. No, they are not going to let me down. So I really wanted to think that these are good ones. So these are not the pointy ones, because I could have concussion the way it happened last time. Doreen, you agree, right? Yeah, okay. The look on Doreen's face last year was like this. Naila would survive or not. So I just wanted to acknowledge that when women come out into startup ecosystem or they want to start their own business, I'm not biased. I always have a great partner as my husband, great in-laws as my supporter, great dad who supported me. But I know there are around 80% of the women, based on statistics, who have those roadblocks. Either their partners, their husbands, their in-laws, their own family comes in the way. And if that does not come in the way, women come in their own way. For example, I'm not good enough, I'm not ready enough, yet it's not the time, or I need lots of validation from some males around them. So women suffer more of those kind of symptoms than men do. Men would just go and do it. We all are aware. There are many researches, many examples. But one woman who inspires me, that even our MVP is only 1% ready. And this woman goes, no, 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 we have to go to the market. And I always insisted, many, many years working on several initiatives, that this woman says, no, we have to go. Unless we go out, we're not going to find out, A, our idea is valid or not. So far, 85% of our collaborations have failed because those ideas were not good, not properly validated. But we went. We did things which were beyond our expectation and what we come up with. This is the same woman who raises amazing kids. This is the same woman who cooks some nice food for me when I'm down. And I think there is no one in this world for me. You're my family, you're my rock. I want to invite that woman come on the stage. And you all have to stand up. It's exercise for your knees as well. You have been sitting since this morning. And as loudly, this woman is Canadian, new Canadian. She's very proud of her being Canadian. And big round of applause, guys. Hurry up. My cameras are ready. Tamina, come on the stage. Come on in. Hey, guys, that's the real woman. Come. Yeah, that's you. Come on the stage. Yeah. Have a seat. Have a seat. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks. Thanks. And I know she feels embarrassed. She always used to say, oh, I'm the back-end person and you're the front-end person. And we did that back-ending, front-end, and all those kind of things. But I'm so proud of her that she does all that. This is the second year. I know sky is the limit for Tamina. And I know that when I say, we have just thought about it. And the next day there is placeholders, flyers are everywhere. And I said, but we just did not even talk. And she goes, we're doing it, right? And this happened years and years and years over. So one thing, Tamina, among all the upheavals, kids, husband, in-laws, friends, and everything, like some days we are up, some days we're down, only one thing, with one nugget, which keeps you going.
This is a very difficult question. I think it's not working. Let me just on it. Hello? Yeah. So first of all, thank you so much. I was not expecting this. I I think the only thing that keeps me going, uh, I want to leave a legacy that, when I'm not here, we all need to go. So I just want, that when I'm not here, people would think that she was good. She did her best. That's the only thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I think there is truth to that because Tamina is already looking into estate planning and funeral services because she shared those numbers with me as well that, look, we have to think, we have to go, and we have to pass on the legacy to people who really deserve it. So thank you so much, Tamina, for being in my life.
Oh, thank you so much. I just want to tell you, everyone, that one thing very important. So when I was coming to Canada, so I used to run a community organization in Pakistan where we help women entrepreneurs to establish their businesses while being in home. So it was not that normal before COVID. So I was talking about like 2018. And I met with someone and I told him that I'm going to move Canada. And he told me, oh, I know a woman. He doesn't work with Pakistanis, but let me introduce you to her. And that's how I met Naila on a Zoom meeting for the first time in 2018, I think, when I was moving here. And then I came here during COVID, before COVID, and I came here alone. And I told her on a message that, Naila, I just arrived, I'm alone. So she asked me, okay, do you have family? I told her that I didn't know a single person in Canada when I first came here. And 1 hour after, I got a call from her. She was outside the condo building with a lot of food for me. And that's how we first met.
On
And
food,
that's
on food, right?
on
Yeah.
food, and that's what Canada is for me. That she didn't even know me, and that's how we become friends. So Canada has a lot of
Great things to
great
offer,
things
right?
due to me, and that's what I'm just trying to give back to Canada. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks. All right, so on the topic of food, guys, the food is waiting. So there is no chaos because the passage is very narrow. I would really request the oh, before we do that, guys, a round of applause for me, right? Yeah. That table, right? There was a big announcement, guys. You missed it. That was a round of applause for me. Yeah. All right. So I would request the tables which are kind of from that back wall, if you could make your way towards the food. And Doreen, you're the boss now.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for staying through that. So yes, lunch is ready. It's that time. But I just wanted to let you guys know as well what's coming up after lunch. So you're just as excited as you are just now. We have a presentation about funding, which I think is near and dear to every startup's heart here. So please come back after lunch and listen. Then we have a presentation from Procurement Canada about doing business with the government. And also opportunities for government grants. That's another hot topic for us founders. And save the best for last, which is the pitch competition. I'm sure everybody wants to know how to pitch. Sorry, you have something to tell me? Also, Tamina has requested that if everyone can leave their notes at their table, I think they're going to be collecting the notes so that they can do something with it and not just, flush it away. So that's a good idea. Thank you. All right, so let's go eat. Enjoy yourselves, network, talk to each other, get some ideas, and relax for the next hour, and come back at 2.